One deep down, the young man seriously doubted this miraculous contract power. Cute beasts crowded around, giving off incredibly cozy adventure vibes. He still dreamed of taming massive monsters, a tempting thought. They would make a pretty solid shield against those terrifying parallel dimensions. And maybe he could build a huge harem of gorgeous otherworldly girls. It was an incredible fantasy, promising endless adventures in a completely uncharted world. But the brutal truth of this netherworld quickly shattered his illusions. He stood there with his head hanging low as monsters mocked him. They laughed at his useless class, throwing constant insults at him. Pure rage and confusion boiled over as he slammed his fist on the table. Anxious thoughts of danger raced through his mind in that very moment. Later, he stood out on the street, completely unable to process the view. Regular citizens walked right past, acting like everything was perfectly normal. They did not even notice the literal monsters roaming freely around Pearl City. This place was just an open hunting ground, completely defenseless against predators. Every single regular civilian looked like easy prey waiting to be slaughtered. He simply refused to back down. No way he would let this happen. A strange glowing green crystal suddenly floated right above his open palm. In an insane twist, he decided to form a contract with himself. He swallowed the magical stone, somehow becoming both master and summoned beast. Instantly, the first-level contract system locked in, shifting all control. His entire soul, mind, and life force looped back into his own hands. A bright blue light suddenly flared up deep inside his eyes. With this bizarre self-control technique, he felt completely ready to fight anything. An incredible wave of new confidence surged through his entire body. He was ready to face down those gigantic extraterrestrial beasts now. Massive hordes of zombies that would normally terrify regular people. They were basically nothing but a minor warm-up for him now. He remained perfectly calm even when facing a massive, bloodthirsty beast. Its glowing red eyes practically leaked an ancient, terrifying bloodlust. Suddenly, a demonic, bone-white mask slowly formed over his face. Its vertical, jagged teeth slits made him look incredibly menacing. Unsheathing his sharp blade, the boy dropped into a solid battle stance. He swore that not a single monster would escape his wrath. Before all this madness, Jungping had actually died working as a lifeguard. His tragic death led to him getting reincarnated into this strange fantasy land. Back then, a pulsing red energy swallowed his soul. It dragged him down through space and time toward his new destiny. Welcome to a brutal world filled with wild beasts and awakened humans. A place where he and his team constantly fought for survival. And yet, looking at his glowing green contract gem right now, he was painfully reminded of the major flaw in his unique ability. When Su Jingyao walked over, Jungping awkwardly held out the stone. He quickly plastered on a fake smile to hide how nervous he was. He tried to pass the priceless artifact off as a piece of candy. She glares in anger, flatly refusing to be controlled, even by a childhood friend sprawling out on the steps in frustration. He explains that these beast contracts must be entirely voluntary to work. He stresses that the gem is useless without the beast's consent. Secret memories calm his mind. The body's original owner had almost died from this overwhelming power, but his past life's deep mental strength saved him. Su Jingyao sharply ruffles her lying friend's messy hair as he lies there, ordering him not to give up and promising that somewhere in this world a beast is waiting to eat his gem. Sudden realization strikes. His face, the perfect, obvious solution, finally manifests, and honestly, it is hilariously simple, making him wonder why on earth he did not think of it sooner. A vibrant stream of green energy wraps around Jungping as he swallows the gem, leaving both teenagers frozen in absolute shock at the strange sight. His terrified friend clutches tightly onto his clothes, staring deep into his eyes to check if he is still safe. He is fine. Hearing this, the worried girl finally sighs in relief, warning him about the danger of crazy experiments. Like that, she begs him never to repeat it, then changes the subject to returning to dorms early, which gets a surprised reaction from him, asking why she wants to leave the academy. Looking up, she confidently explains that she has already learned everything from books, and now only real battles can make her stronger. A sudden gust of wind lifts her clothes, exposing her waist, and forcing her to fluster and adjust her sweater with a smile. That they will fight together once he finally gets strong, he only laughs, joking that he would rather go back home to the village and farm since his useless ability means he is fit for nothing else. Still, Jungping feels a sudden sting of sadness at leaving his lifelong friend. Meanwhile, an invisible green silhouette pulses silently behind his back. A soft wish to give her a hug barely crosses his mind, but his body moves on its own, hugging the stunned Su Jingyao. No words, she blushes intensely, completely frozen and unable to speak. Single word. Behind Jungping, the green silhouette rages furiously at him, unable to comprehend why the physical body is moving itself. Confusion. Confusion reigns. Jungping quickly breaks the sudden, awkward embrace. Goodbye, the shocked girl can barely whisper it through trembling lips. Su Jingyao quickly turns and runs off, chased only by his confused gaze as he calls out, shouting for her to stay safe. Without slowing down, she briefly turns back to wave a quick goodbye, urging him to also stay careful during his upcoming trials. Tenderness, a deep, warm wave of it floods his frozen body. Hands still raised, watching her disappearing figure fade against the distant purple sunset. Puzzled, Jungping stares down at his own open hand, trying to understand that sudden, uncontrollable urge to hold her. Could his subconscious truly control his body? The bizarre experiment begins. It started when the green specter struck a precise pose, forcing his physical body to launch straight into the air like a superhero. Next, the phantom demanded invisible armor, forcing its human host to copy bizarre movements to unlock those defenses, but a sudden, sharp command from the glowing silhouette sent the boy's unready body into a wild, spinning somersault. Showing complete control over his muscles and reflexes, worn out from the brutal experiments and drenched in sweat, Jungping collapsed face first onto the ground, barely able to gasp out that he couldn't take another second of this grueling workout. Now he finally understood the exact limits of his powers, especially after failing to fly or shapeshift into non-human forms. But the thrilling realization that he could pull off the most advanced martial arts with absolutely zero training changed everything. Pushing himself up from the ground, he focused on his next move. He had to build up his stamina to truly master this power. The next morning, his groggy eyes struggled to focus on the school cafeteria. He was totally out of it, trying to figure out how he even got to the breakfast table when sudden, sharp pain shot through his legs. Every single step hurt, making Jungping grit his teeth as he tried to remember the previous night. Then it hit him. His sleeping body had actually gone out for a midnight run, proving his theory about subconscious control. His sleeping body was training. Jungping glanced around nervously, checking the nearby students to see if his weird behavior had drawn any unwanted attention. Suddenly, a quiet buzz swept through the cafeteria. The popular school beauty, Lu Xiu, had just walked through the doors, greeting everyone in the room with a gentle smile. But fuzzy memories of her mixed with an instant, deeply chilling sensation, forcing the young man to spin around to find the threat. Pure, genuine terror distorted Jungping's face when he saw the massive beast. It was totally invisible to everyone else, but clearly oozing pure malice right behind him. And check this out, he had a unique ability to see the monsters hiding among normal humans. He broke out in a cold sweat just as Lu Xiu approached, her voice filled with concern as she noted how incredibly pale he looked. Still shaken by her hidden demonic look, he struggled to respond as she noted his sickly appearance, making him turn away in panic. Her polite question about how he was doing only made it harder for Jungping to keep his composure. Staring at the massive, horrifying beast instead of a cute schoolgirl, he broke into another cold sweat, stammering out some weak excuse about having a terrible nightmare last night. He was desperately trying to hide the truth. Thankfully, the morning bell rang, giving him the perfect excuse to escape. The terrified boy bolted from his seat and rushed for the exit with a strained, awkward smile. Behind him, the classmate's demonic shadow watched him leave very closely, easily picking up on the thick scent of fear rolling off the retreating boy. Jungping was now fully aware of the monster lurking in his school. The hallway stretched ahead as Jungping walked forward, feeling a deep, unsettling sense of dread. This bizarre reality made his mind race, forcing him to seek help from a teacher. Looking for anyone in authority, Jungping reached out and swung open the nearest office door. He had no clue that a total nightmare was waiting for him inside. A massive beast was tearing into a female student sprawled across the cold floor. Her face was locked in a horrific scream, the brutal sight made him shriek. Terrified, he bolted from the room and collapsed onto a bench outside, gasping. He kept whimpering in sheer terror, those blank eyes and the tears on. Her cheeks showed her deep shock as her trembling hands clutched her head. The sheer horror of this new reality was too much to bear. Suddenly, a realization struck him about his new ability to see these beasts. It was all connected to the green gem in his hand, sparking desperate hope. Jungping wanted his normal life back, so he swallowed the glowing, mysterious crystal without a second thought. Immediately, a vibrant green light wrapped round him like a massive, expanding cocoon, which honestly terrified him. He did not expect the crystal to react with such insane intensity. Jungping gasped as a glowing red blur suddenly appeared right at his feet. A sudden system notification chimed as a bizarre process began to run. As the scanning process finished, a new message flashed before his eyes. Meanwhile, somewhere nearby, another vicious monster was hunting down its next victim. Shock washed over him when he finally realized what was happening. He had just unlocked a powerful identification ability. He stood up, frozen in absolute suspense, as the system confirmed his power. A grid of digital glowing cubes wrapped around his arm, scanning his stats. It displayed his exact traits. Now, endless questions flooded his mind. He wondered about the gem, its levels, and this strange new system. Jungping quietly analyzed all the bizarre changes happening to his body. In class, he absent-mindedly twirled a pen, trying to connect the dots. A self-contract, complete mental immunity, and the power to see the truth. This was his new reality. He realized the monsters here were celestial foxes. These mythical beasts were using powerful illusions to blend in with humans. But a tiny spark of hope remained when he thought of Su Jinga. Her spiritual powers might be exactly what they need to survive this nightmare. As the warm sunset painted the city streets, Jungping walked home. He watched normal citizens going about their usual peaceful days. But he was deeply shocked by the sheer number of monsters around. He wearily scanned every single person he passed, checking their true forms. His caution spiked when he noticed a young couple ahead. A sweet young girl was happily clinging to her boyfriend's arm, smiling. The poor guy had absolutely no idea how much danger he was in. But Jungping could see the terrifying reality hiding right beneath her pretty face. A ravenous beast was just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He soon arrived at the massive patrol headquarters, feeling completely determined. He looked up, highly impressed by the sheer scale of the stone building. Inside, a warm and friendly receptionist welcomed him at the front desk. He asks about the purpose of the visit, showing the professional courtesy of a city guard. He asks about Su Jingjiao's whereabouts. A resolute question escapes Zhang Ping's lips as he mentions her new patrol assignment. Her welcoming smile completely contrasts with her horrific appearance, revealing a hideous monster wearing human skin right in front of his eyes. The shocking realization of monsters infiltrating the elite patrol makes him freeze on the couch. He is stunned that seasoned fighters failed to see through these illusions. A familiar voice suddenly cuts in. Gloomy thoughts. He looks up as the group approaches, led by Su Jingjiao. He rises from the couch, scratching his head, awkwardly spinning a quick lie about worrying how his childhood friend would adapt to her new team. She is thrilled. She proudly points to her caring teammates standing right behind her. Fake joy fills Zhang Ping's voice as his friend eagerly shares her desire to get stronger and seek revenge for her parents. Her face blushes when invited to join, but he politely declines instead, citing his preference for non-combat work instead of patrol duty. He makes a swift retreat, accompanied by a casual wave goodbye, leaving his friend totally confused among her comrades. Walking away, Zhang Ping can barely hide his sheer terror as countless monsters drill into his back with scarlet eyes. Deep, furious disbelief boils inside his mind right now. The entire defense force has vanished, likely devoured by these creatures. He lowers his head as tense veins bulge on his fist, realizing his newly arrived friend has already walked straight into their claws. Looking sharply at the passing crowd brings a terrifying, sudden realization. A terrifying truth hits him. The heavenly foxes have turned the entire city into their personal livestock farm. His analytical mind processes the data. Most are level 10 to 29. Normally, an elite patrol with high-level awakened ones would easily crush them, but they failed to stop them. An intuitive premonition tells him something far worse. that the monster who destroyed Lu Zia possesses some identity-blocking, king-level strength. A clear, logical chain begins to build up in his mind. These cunning foxes achieved high levels by hunting. Their outstanding intelligence lets them camouflage perfectly among humans, posing as neighbors, allowing them to peacefully coexist. They maintain an illusion of peace while selectively hunting. Only prominent figures and people of high influence. The rest of the town's people are kept as backup food. Supplies a cruel reality proven by the sight of bound captives. Being dragged away, deep conflict tears at his soul. Fighting them directly means certain death, but ignoring this is unbearable. A week later, he sits on his bed with a tired look, suddenly realizing a surprising pattern hidden in the data. This drastically cut down his daily recovery time. Hard daily workouts finally yielded some very real results. Jungping's physical fitness level successfully climbed to stage 2. But absorbing those daily gems yielded absolutely nothing new. Still nothing, every single artifact remained completely colorless. Then his nightly ritual threw him a massive curveball. A deep purple stone emerged, sparking a wave of hope. He grimaced at the nasty-looking crystal, but shoved it down anyway. He was desperately praying for this change to trigger a breakthrough. Suddenly, a strange glow lit up his stomach on the bed. A heavy mix of raw anxiety and absolute anticipation flooded him. A glowing blue system screen suddenly flashed right before him. He had unlocked the Night Scout talent and upgraded his gem. Excitement rushed through him. He was connecting the dots. Every single stage jump meant unlocking powerful new abilities. Desperate to test this, he leaped up and activated the skill. A deep violet aura flared. His vision was jaw-dropping. Everything looked way sharper than it ever did in broad daylight. Later, during his nightly run, something caught his eye. A highly unusual ring was glinting in the dark stadium grass. It was almost like it was waiting to be found. Jungping picked up the heavy, perfectly smooth band. He tried identifying it again and again. Finally, the system revealed it as the killer ring. It came with a pretty wild passive effect that ignores perception. Just then, a system alert offered to replay the ring's memories. He was suddenly pulled into a memory of a brutal battle. He immediately recognized one of the figures locked in combat. It was the Heavenly Fox, wearing the disguise of Lu Xiu. But then his eyes locked onto the other fighter's pinky. It was the exact same ring. Talk about a twist. How did this person know that Lu Xiu was actually a monster? They must have targeted her without even seeing her true form. Then a massive realization hit Jungping right there. The ring's owner could also see through the monster's disguises. There was someone else in Pearl City hunting these demons down. A sudden screeching cry of the celestial fox shattered the quiet night. Jungping instinctively bolted, looking for a place to hide. The confused beast landed nearby, only to find its ring gone. It realized someone had just swiped it right from under its nose. The fox looked around frantically, but couldn't find a single trace. It assumed the thief must be a high-level awakened player. Fearing the worst, the monster immediately rushed off to warn its master. Jungping watched the whole thing unfold from the stadium shadows. He knew this was far too convenient to be a simple coincidence. He kept the artifact, returning it would only raise suspicion. Dawn approached, the young man sat there pondering. How did his invisibility work? Perfect synergy between ring and skills. But then a shock, blue energy materialized in the room. The bright glow startled him. He jumped from his seat. This cut off his deep thoughts, no more gear calculations. Suddenly, a ghostly female silhouette stepped out of the light. She clung to the terrified young man. She desperately whispered. Hide, that was her only warning, but the foxes were already here. They had already invaded the dormitory. They were heading straight here. Silence was shattered. Heavy footsteps rapidly approached his bedroom door. The beasts entered the room. They marched toward his bed. He lay there sleeping. The creature smiled in anticipation. Luisu's monster stared down, carefully verifying his true identity. To confirm who he was, a bloody scarlet cloud gathered. It hovered over the celestial fox's arm, ready to destroy him. Talk about a close call, those claws were inches away. The paw hovered near his face. It examined his aura. The monster was cautious. It noted his lack of panic. Surely, someone holding secrets would show some sign of fear. But Pin stayed still. behind the leader, a subordinate watched. The subordinate wanted them to eliminate this suspicious target instantly. But the leader quickly refused. Instead, he stretched out his neck. The beast sniffed the air thoroughly around the boy's bed. He sneered in contempt. This human was just useless meat. Do not waste valuable food, the harsh, commanding order echoed loudly. The monsters bowed deeply. Meanwhile, Pin's hands were sweating badly. His eyes were wide with terror. His body was completely frozen. Honestly, how did he manage to hold his breath that long? Suddenly, Pin sat upright, letting out a massive sigh. He realized the truth. His daily running had drawn them. The magical ring gleamed softly on his trembling palm. He thanked his quick thinking. Playing dead had definitely saved his life. But that warning voice of Su Jingyao felt real. Was it just an illusion or a real warning? Either way, a fierce determination to survive and get revenge solidified inside. He stared at the artifact. Soon, rumors began spreading. A famous killer had been found brutally decapitated near the school. Hearing this in the cafeteria, Pin listened very closely. The victim was the infamous Black Death of Pearl City. Pin immediately linked this shocking event to the mysterious man in white. This brutal execution was a clear public display of power. Lu Xiu had sent a clear warning to all potential enemies. Now Pin knew he urgently needed a strong self-defense weapon. He quietly left the dining hall, leaving the excited gossip behind. The afternoon bell rings. A massive flood of students rushes out. Rushing off to do their own thing, our hero has other plans. He unmasked a fake blacksmith that led to a disturbing discovery. The Foxes, they completely control every weapon workshop in the city. Level up, his appraisal skill just unlocked its next tier. A screen pops up right in front of him, new possibilities. Now he can scan anyone. The monster Smith invites him inside. Clueless, he has no idea the boy sees through his disguise. With a polite refusal, our hero quickly retreats. He needs to find a normal workshop, one not run by these predatory beast monsters. Loud shouting, a shop nearby is boasting about their top-tier gear. It is the spirit of Iron Forge. A customer examines a sword. The buyer swings it around, testing the balance with a smile. He flashes a slick business smile, trying to make a deal. The old shopkeeper slowly stands up. He exhales a thick cloud of pipe smoke directly into the buyer's face with a mocking question. He insults the guy's daughter. That completely breaks the customer's patience. Boom, the furious man slams his fist down, getting right in his face. He screams at the old man, accusing him of being deaf. Perfect distraction. Our guy takes advantage of the chaos to slip inside. Unnoticed, he walks right in and picks up a nearby sword. Appraisal skill active. His sharp gaze slides down the gleaming steel. He reads the stats, but the angry buyer catches him holding it. Accusations fly. The angry customer gets highly aggressive, demanding it back. He lunges to grab the weapon, but our hero stays calm. He casually lists the sword's flaws, then a sudden crack. The blade snaps, only a useless hilt remains in his hand. Absolute trash quality. The buyer stands there in complete shock. Then comes the rage. Pure electricity starts crackling around his body. Lightning surges everywhere, making his clothes rattle at the seams. He stands tall. Do you even know who I am? He sneers. Dazzling lightning bolts fly everywhere, filling the room with terrifying, crackling power. The atmosphere grows heavy. His body begins to swell. His clothes tear apart as his physical size increases massively. He proudly yells. He belongs to the elite Xena martial arts school. A furious shout, he leaps into the air, aiming a strike right at our protagonist. The young man does not even flinch or move. Master Ma's disciple moves fast, a predator circling his prey. He throws numerous false lunges, trying to find a perfect opening. All those feints shatter against the stony calm of our hero. He remains completely motionless, standing right in the very center. At maximum convergence smack, a casual slap stops him cold. A single move of the hand turns his attack into total defeat. Is that it? He asks, looking down at the fallen fighter. The guy grovels on the floor, rubbing his red, swollen cheek. So much for martial arts ethics. His identification skill analyzes his foe. After sizing him up, he contemptuously turns his back on the defeated chump. He wonders what this farce is about, completely unaware of the threat behind him. The sneaky disciple of Master Ma instantly springs up from the floor. He rushes forward, aiming directly for Jungping's completely unprotected back. But that pathetic surprise attack only earns him a second, painful defeat. He ends up back on the ground, collecting a fresh batch of bruises. While Jungping mocks his total lack of honor, a female silhouette appears. She steps right over the groaning loser, looking around the quiet shop. She sighs, muttering about how dead the place got while she was gone. Her cold voice and the ominous cracking of her knuckles send a clear message. The beaten fighter needs to get lost right now if he wants to survive. Pure terror gives him a sudden burst of speed as he scrambles away. He stammers apologies while running, followed by their highly amused stares. Before Jungping can slip out, she makes a sudden, decisive move. The mysterious girl slams her palm against the doorframe, blocking his exit. She completely cuts off any chance he had of making a quiet retreat. Her demand to talk sounds like an absolute command as she glares. She stares straight into the eyes of our wary and confused hero. Trapped without an escape route, Jungping begins to sweat and look around. The mysterious girl steps in, way past his comfort zone. She pins him against the wall, rambling about being a lonely, helpless woman. After mentioning her missing cousin, she suddenly grabs the boy by his collar. She pulls him right into her chest, sweet-talking him about a potential job. She promises him free lodging, good pay, and a great blacksmithing gig. Though confused, a calculating Jungping quickly weighs the massive potential benefits. Learning blacksmithing sounds perfect, especially since there are no dangerous celestial foxes here. A sudden surge of bold confidence snaps him right out of her grasp. He boldly declares that he is destined to become the ultimate blacksmith king. His loud declaration leaves the girl looking completely puzzled and amused. Her sweet laughter instantly turns into a brutal, face-crushing slap. A heavy blow sends the aspiring blacksmith crashing onto the bloody floor. Lying on the ground, Jungping finally realizes what kind of nightmare he entered. He stares at his laughing boss through a hazy, red veil of pain. The grueling days blur together into an endless cycle of heavy hammer swings. From sunrise to sunset, he tempers both the raw steel and his own spirit. Rivers of sweat drench his bare torso as his muscles burn from exhaustion. The girl stands by, barking loud, mockingly encouraging orders to keep him moving. She wildly praises his style, comparing the metal work to kneading bread dough. This special method requires blending the metal exactly like baking a loaf. Cooch Chang strikes a provocatively seductive pose before walking toward the warehouse. Her flashy look completely distracts the utterly exhausted kid from her instructions. She throws a parting reminder to keep the hot forge fire going. This reminder makes Jungping turn his focus toward a nearby metal bucket. He has absolutely no idea about the massive disaster waiting for him. He stood between two very similar-looking buckets, one filled with scales and the other with charcoal. Hoping to save a little time, he made a reckless, split-second decision. He dumped the entire contents of both buckets straight into the blazing workshop forge together. A sudden, violent reaction ignited the very moment those hot materials collided together. Fire greedily swallowed this chaotic mixture of elements. This boded terribly for the completely inexperienced young craftsman. A blinding, massive flash of yellow light erupted, completely consuming every single corner of the workshop. It felt like a miniature apocalypse was unleashed right inside the shop. A terrifying sense of his own impending death gripped Jungping's mind. He stood frozen, trapped in the center of a chaotic energy storm. Right on his bare chest, a burning, terrifying hole with jagged red edges opened up wide. The agony ripped a desperate scream from deep inside Jungping's throat. His hand instinctively clawed at the glowing, painful energy wound. Almost instantly, the violent magic storm vanished as quickly as it started. The roaring fires died down, leaving him standing completely alone in the dark, heavily smoky room. Shocked, he kept his hand firmly pressed against his searing chest. He struggled to make sense of the madness that just occurred. As the smoke cleared in the silent forge, he checked for the injury. Jungping quickly triggered his appraisal skill to inspect his new state. He immediately noticed some linked abilities. The realization of this endless growth potential completely blew him away. Get this, unlike regular people, he can actually unlock several distinct powers. His practical mind linked this to the level 3 gem from earlier. Now he was searching for whatever triggered this massive evolution. But his intense brainstorming was cut short when someone walked in. The shop's mistress suddenly returned, causing him to spin around in surprise. Ko Chang walked in with a look of pure panic on her face. She screamed a warning about those highly volatile red snake scales. Her fear turned to relief as she grabbed her disciple's hand. Feeling highly self-conscious, he scrambled to come up with a decent lie. He really didn't want to explain how he swallowed a blazing firestorm. So he quickly deflected to the metals. This successfully distracted his boss from asking any more awkward questions. Ko Chang stared, deeply impressed by the young man's obvious crafting talent. She noted that he was already skilled enough to join the elite. Curiously, Jungping asked her about the 3 major organizations in town. Meanwhile, his master stepped up and grabbed a massive forging hammer. With a few thunderous strikes, she easily shaped the glowing metal. As she explained the secretive factions of Pearl City, a sharp blade formed. Then she suddenly handed him the freshly made dagger as a gift. Jungping was stunned, feeling incredibly grateful yet extremely embarrassed. He stared at the beautifully crafted blade, worried about its true price. The craftsmanship was flawless, suggesting this weapon was worth a fortune. Wait for it, hearing it cost 100,000 coins made his jaw drop. That was literally 3 whole years of salary for him. He gasped as he realized this single weapon was worth an entire month's wages. His mentor laughed warmly and offered him the weapon as a reward. She suddenly mentioned going back to school, catching him completely off guard. Xu Chang packed up, leaving her apprentice to manage the busy workshop, along with the confused old master, planning to hide his secret forge, and coordinating night walker patrols as he watched the girl walk away. The dark, gloomy street stood in sharp contrast to a cheerful girl swinging carefree in the dark, empty park. Jungping's sharp eyes instantly recognized her as a 3-tailed celestial fox equal to his own rank, so he hid behind a tree. He gripped his purple glowing dagger tightly, weighing his chances of victory. Defeating her was risky and would surely attract the guard's attention. Suddenly, a freezing presence crept up right behind his back. Sharp ice crystals bound his hands, completely freezing his train of thought. He forgot the fox bounty as a voice accused him of wanting to kill a child. A chilling death threat echoed behind him, leaving him completely paralyzed with fear. Trapped, his mind raced to analyze the tense situation. His worst fears were true. This opponent was vastly superior in strength. With just a single touch, she completely blocked his night walker abilities. She whispered directly into his ear, demanding a meeting at the orphanage. He stood there completely frozen, torn between sheer terror and intense curiosity. The blue energy vanished and the ice shattered, letting Jungping breathe again. At least this mysterious woman was not working with the celestial foxes. Memories of his childhood as an orphan training in an empty park rushed back. He stood frozen, staring right at the massive and familiar front gate. The creeping feeling of being watched only grew stronger with every step. It drove him deeper into the dense forest, right where she wanted. Lured, suddenly a monstrous beast blocked his path. His survival instincts flared, forcing him to act quickly. He instantly used his appraisal skill, and his blood ran cold. Magical analysis revealed the creature's venomous tail was twice his level. The beast moved cautiously, giving him a slim chance to slowly back away. Retreat was an option, but his inner voice demanded he stand his ground. He had to fight no matter what. Tomorrow, innocent orphans would play here, and he had to protect them. He could not let this glowing scorpion beast threaten their lives. Armed with Xu Chang's legendary gear, Jungping charged forward with fierce resolve. He aimed his dagger straight at the approaching threat. Stories of invincible heroes flashed through his mind as he pushed his body. But the creature suddenly curled into a tight ball and leaped right over him. It was a bizarre, sudden attack that caught the trained fighter off guard. Instinctively raising his dagger, he braced himself and activated his full defense. He met the deadly, spinning mass of the monster head-on with his blade. But the beast's thick armor easily resisted the strike. Even the legendary beauty's tears could not pierce it easily. A sudden, powerful shockwave sends the attacking beast crashing hard against a towering rock wall. This impact buys him precious seconds, but the enraged monster is already recovering. Green veins pulse across its skin, glowing brighter as its rage boils over. The beast transforms into a toxic, glowing fountain, spitting green projectiles everywhere. He is forced to dodge like a pro gamer, pulling off wild acrobatics. Jung's sharp mind quickly spots a weakness. Its unprotected eyes are wide open, even while the beast curls up. He triggers his Fire Eater ability, and a spark ignites his fist. A confident smile creeps across his face. He knows this is the turning point. He recalls an ancient martial arts technique, the clear fist of 3 pearls. He takes a perfect combat stance while gripping his jeweled dagger tightly. It is a high-risk offensive move, turning his smaller size into a massive advantage. The young warrior charges directly forward, sprinting right through a hail of energy fire. Leaping high, he unleashes the opening strike of his ultimate combat combo. He spins downward, aiming his dagger to pierce straight through the heavy armor. A fierce battle cry echoes out as he strikes, but something goes wrong. His sharp blade simply slides off the monster's incredibly tough outer shell. But he just smirks. Phase 2 of his plan is already in motion. A bright, crackling fireball begins to swirl and grow inside his palm. Jungping unleashes a massive torrent of fire, engulfing the cold beast. He smiles. It is time to deliver the final, crushing blow. The exact second the beast lowers its guard, he lunges forward with absolute precision. He pierces its flesh, unleashing a shockwave that shatters the surrounding stone. Level up notifications flash in his vision as the battle finally ends. He quietly sheathes his dagger, deeply troubled by this weird poisonous rat. Lost in thought, he stares blankly into the thick, silent forest ahead. He does not notice the dark, purple energy tendrils creeping up behind him. Like a predator's tentacles, these magical bindings instantly wrap around his waist. Every single muscle is paralyzed, leaving him completely unable to move. How on earth is he going to break free from this mystical grip? Suddenly, a massive portal vacuum rips, Jungping right out of reality. He screams as he plummets headfirst through a dizzying void of dimensions. He crashes hard onto a dark surface, lying sprawled and totally disoriented. In this strange alien world, a freezing female voice begins a sudden countdown. A 5-minute limit is set, and glowing blue energy lifts him into the air. He recognizes the voice. It belongs to a mysterious, dangerous stalker. She demands immediate proof of his humanity while holding an icy blade to his throat. Trapped inside the energy cocoon, he stays dead silent under her cold gaze. She keeps her sword pressed tightly against his neck as his mind races. He frantically searches for any possible way to prove he is human. Knowing she is hunting shape-shifting monsters, he remembers a past encounter. Memory of the celestial vixen sparks an idea for a potential solution. He looks up with a slight smile, silently asking her for a hint. Instead, her cold voice counts down to 4 minutes remaining. It is his 20th failed identification. Success finally arrives with just 2 minutes left, introducing Lu Shishi, level 28. No magic works, she is immune to standard spells. He sifts through files on the Sweep Team organization. They rank right alongside the Investigation Patrol Division. As the final seconds tick down, the woman runs over in panic. A cold sweat breaks out as he desperately cries for mercy. The boy instantly links the training grounds to their old orphanage. He remembers all of those familiar faces clearly. Yet she continues to press her cold blade against Jung's throat. She lists the girls named Lu, suggesting an alias. Even after the 7th name, the boy remains incredibly persistent. He watches for any shifts in her expressionless face. Her patience snaps. She slashes her blade in a flash. The sharp steel leaves a shallow and bleeding cut on his skin. The skeptical warrior lands right into the stunned boy's face. His eyes bulge with fear. She rejects his blood proof. Suddenly, a wave of pure realization flashes through his mind. He recognizes her as Lu Shishi, a senior from Pearl Academy. She is the one who taught him a secret technique. He replicates her old training moves right in front of her. Her sudden, shocked reaction completely gives away her recognition. A sudden emotional rush shatters her ice sword into pieces. She quickly grows dead serious again, looming over him. She towers over him, demanding a direct explanation about his lessons. Knowing his contract skills are useless, Jung unlocks a secret. He can transform himself directly into his own summoned beast. This makes him immune to illusions and unmasks disguises. His warning about a horde of celestial foxes invading Pearl City shocks her. Her entire face contorts as the sheer scale of the threat hits home. These strange invaders possess dangerous cognitive distortion abilities. She aggressively grabs Jung by his clothes, demanding to know the absolute truth. In response, he calmly lists every disguised beast surrounding them. His incredibly steady response directly counters her massive wave of emotional panic. His final and most critical piece of evidence is a specific fox. She easily kept it away as low level. In a firm tone, Lu Shishi orders Jung to wait. She quickly dashes off in the opposite direction to check. She immediately contacts Jimbo through a glowing pink communication stone. She asks a tense question about the kid's claims. Can they actually trust someone with such weird eyesight? Jimbo confirms they have never found similar beasts. Still, Jung's reported abilities match up with the facts. A secret capture operation is officially launched right now. They hope to verify the truth and solve this mystery. Suddenly, a deafening blast cuts the conversation short. Everyone whips around toward a massive, blinding flash that completely shatters the peaceful evening sky. The anxious squad freezes. They wait in pure suspense for what comes next. Sprinting desperately, they watch their allies fleeing from the blast zone. Absolute terror is written all over their faces as they flee the wreckage. Breathless, the running warrior warns them of a chaotic attack at an out-of-town diner. Clearly supernatural, panting, she rushes toward the captain. Suddenly, she shifts direction, lunging forward with her fist raised high. She aims a brutal punch right at the completely calm Jinbo in the center. Energy surges. The cold-blooded warrior channels power into his fist. He thrusts his fist forward to block, unleashing a devastating beam of power. The sheer impact blasts her backward, sending her body crashing to the earth. She lands several meters away, killed instantly by a clean hole through her chest. But watch closely, the dead body suddenly does something completely unbelievable. A bright purple aura wraps the corpse as a strange blue mist rises up. Completed transformation, it reveals the grotesque, true form of the defeated beast. This confirms the boys' reports, making their mysterious enemy's true nature crystal clear. Sensing the massive danger, the captain immediately barks out a ruthless command. Eliminate them all. The squad instantly bows in agreement. The disciplined soldiers salute. Meanwhile, the stunning Lachu is relaxing. She lounges peacefully on a private balcony, wearing only a swimsuit. Supervised by her maid, suddenly a panicked cry shatters the quiet. Lachu sits up. She narrows her eyes toward the distant trouble. She launches herself from the balcony, gliding through the air with effortless grace. Her vibrant swimsuit gleams beautifully against the darkening evening sky as she leaps. Disturbing news floods in. Her kin are slaughtered, sparking burning rage. A powerful purple energy begins to swirl around her elegant silhouette. Who the hell is that? Her enraged scream echoes as an enormous beast appears. A massive spectral fox looms behind Lachu, exposing the school beauty's terrifying secret. Lachu retreats back into the dim shadows, where Pin is waiting anxiously. Deep doubts remain. Can he really see through illusions? Channeling cold blue energy, she shapes a beautiful, swirling orb in her palm. She coldly reminds him that he is just an informant under her protection. Absolute relief washes over his face, helping him finally relax his tense shoulders. A professional, having one on their side, completely changes their odds. To counter the foxes, the mentor tosses 2 ancient jade tokens. They spin in a high arc from the turning mentor toward the boy. He barely catches the artifacts. The immediate instruction is simple. Use the flame to trigger the alarm, she instructs as he examines the jade. He rolls the cold stone in his palms, feeling its heavy power. But pay attention to her voice. She sounds genuinely terrified for what comes next. He watches in awe as the burning stone warms his trembling hand. No money, financial trouble clouds Jungping's ultimate dream. He wants to master martial arts, but must admit he cannot afford training. Luckily, Sister Sisa steps in with a generous offer to secure funding. He beams happily. Now he just needs to pick the perfect school. Zhang analyzed the area, noting the dropping fox population thanks to the sweep group. That group was the same one his old acquaintance belonged to. A generous gift of 10,000 pearl coins warmed his soul until something caught his eye. It was an unfamiliar girl, loudly advertising the legendary Beastmaster fist technique. Zhang walked right up and asked her for an informational booklet. This brought pure joy to her face, since everyone else was completely ignoring her. He carefully scanned the pages, looking over the details of the booklet. He noted all the techniques and their prices, starting to doubt. If he could afford them, still, she proudly praised its virtues. Of this Beastmaster school, claiming it was the perfect combo of cheap price and top-tier quality, but seeing those high numbers. left our hero looking pretty disappointed, which made the eager promoter step in close and offer a live demonstration of a few techniques. She explained the 3 stances of the legendary Beastmaster Fist, starting with the majestic Monkey King stance, then the intimidating style of the giant crocodile, and finally the deadly phoenix claw. Watching closely, Jang studied her movements, realizing this Beastmaster style was far superior to the Ming Fist, both in its fluid footwork and raw power. Her graceful movements showed endless variations of the Monkey King stance, showing no rigid patterns, but as she smoothly shifted into the next stance, Jang noticed she lacked the actual skill to unlock its true potential. Right before a clumsy slip sent her crashing to the ground. Ouch! Suddenly, a rough voice cut in, demanding to know if they had permission to hand out flyers while Jang helped her up. Blushing hard, the embarrassed girl admitted she did not know the local rules, offering an apologetic smile while rubbing the back of her head. Hearing them mock her martial art, Jang instantly recognized the speaker as the very same punk he had easily trashed back in the workshop. Now this guy was promoting the Shingi Fist School, eyes burning for revenge. He still remembered being utterly humiliated by Jang with just a few strikes, and now he finally spotted his target in the crowd. He called out to his comrades, nicknamed Bear, to back him up for a brutal beatdown, but the brave girl immediately jumped in front of Jang, acting as a living shield to protect him. Suddenly, a terrifying transformation begins to sweep over the attackers. Their clothes tear apart as their muscles swell to insane proportions. All of the girl's confidence vanishes into pure terror. But Jang stays totally calm and activates his identification skill. Immediately, detailed stats flood his vision, revealing everything about them. The system highlights his opponents, starting with the one screaming threats. Jang is shocked as he reads the terrifying description before him. Their physical stats are off the charts, but their intelligence has completely plummeted, trading their sanity for raw, monstrous power. Jang can't help but gasp as they continue to transform into mindless beasts led by Wang, the representative of. She found her resolve again, totally clueless that her partner was actually impressed. He couldn't help but notice the absolute irony of the entire situation. The girl who needed protection yesterday was now standing as his shield today. Mixed feelings, he quickly handed the stack of papers back. Jang handed the documents to the confused girl, instantly shifting his battle strategy. She stood there completely lost. He gently spun her by the shoulders. He insisted on handling this difficult fight completely on his own. She argued they dramatically outnumbered him, but he just smiled. A bright blue glow ignited in his eyes as he recalled her impressive moves. He pictured that wild Monkey King stance she just pulled off. Without warning, a fierce double attack began right in front of him. One beast lunged from above, while the other charged across the ground. A flawless plan instantly formed in his mind to counter them both. Pure speed and sharp technique shut them down in a total whirlwind. He spun through the chaos, targeting the leader, summoning lightning. The leader screamed with pure rage, blind to how useless his efforts were. Jang closed the distance to Master Ma's disciple almost instantly. He delivered a heavy third strike to easily finish off the combo. He mocked their weak lightning style as he looked down at his opponent. The defeated fighter lay frozen on the ground in a humiliating pose. Leaving 3 broken opponents behind, Jang asked to visit the Beastmaster School. The girl stared at him, absolutely shocked by his sudden request. She was amazed he copied that complex Monkey King style instantly. Wang Zaman practically glowed, thrilled for the chance to learn. A secret notification scanned her, a rare 7-star potential. Jang realized she would make a pretty valuable ally later. Back at the Beastmaster School, panic started spreading fast. Terrified students whispered the scary news. The instructor was finally back. Students panicked over unlearned moves, terrified of what was coming. They joked about punishments while trying to wake their friend. Jang looked around at the chaos, utterly baffled by their sheer panic. His pale companion shook with fear as she explained the instructor's extreme brutality. She seemed weirdly proud of her record-breaking punishments. She had spent a whole month completely failing basic techniques. Jang stood there, secretly amazed by her terrible record. Suddenly, the doors flew open, forcing every single student to snap to attention. Her face paled as she prepared to face her mentor. The instructor's keen eye instantly spotted a flawed stance. He ordered 50 laps of punishment before even crossing the threshold. Pina instantly scanned the incoming master. The system compared his power to official CISA levels. Bid politely asked about yesterday's trouble. Jang gave a careless shrug, instantly shifting the vibe. That casual response triggered a terrifying shift. His aura exploded, making him look several meters tall. Those glaring eyes make the young man instinctively recoil, shielding himself. He throws his hands up to block and tries to back away. Confusion and sheer panic completely take over his face. He desperately tries to plead his case as a complete rookie. But his plea only makes the terrifying master even angrier. Right then, blazing energy erupts around the instructor's fists. The furious teacher charges, shouting that the boy learned too fast. How could a novice master such a complex technique? Pure terror fills Jang's eyes as a devastating punch flies straight at him. The flaming fist stops just millimeters from his nose. Talk about a sudden twist, the mentor doesn't hit him. Instead, he playfully ruffles the boy's hair with a grin. Bid chuckles raspily, admitting he finally believes in his student's talent. But this sudden warmth only leaves Jang more confused. The mentor then harshly criticizes Wang Zamin's clumsy stance. She stands behind them, looking completely starstruck despite the scolding. When Bid promises some personal tips, her eyes light up. Jang bows deeply to show his gratitude before the other disciples. Then the mentor suddenly announces a surprise test for laziness. The entire lineup of trainees shivers under that piercing gaze. Tough demands and brutal punishments are promised for anyone who fails. Jang just chuckles, knowing how these harsh training methods work. Suddenly, a gentle tap on his arm makes him turn around. It is Wang Zamin, looking incredibly flustered and lost for words. She is clearly dying to ask him for something. Blushing deeply, she begs him to give her some private lessons. All she wants is to avoid another harsh scolding. Jang agrees, promising to whip her into shape with iron discipline. Relief washes over her face, showing how terrified she was of being rejected. Checking her stats, Jang quickly realizes what the problem is. He finally understands why the other mentors gave up on her. Her immense hard work simply cannot overcome her terrible learning stat. Soon, their days become a repetitive loop of mistakes and apologies. Yet Jang stays patient, drilling Wang Zamin on the absolute basics. He mentally evaluates his special monkey-style training program. Suddenly, the poor girl collapses onto the hard floor with a loud thud. Later that night, a soft purple energy begins to coat Jang's fist. He is quietly practicing the secret Beastmaster technique. Honestly, his progress over the last few days is pretty insane. But the door suddenly swings open as Sister Chang calls out. Jang snaps out of his focus and looks toward the entrance. Leaving his student to practice, he quickly heads out to greet her. Her unexpected arrival means something important must have happened. She immediately starts venting her frustrations about a completely failed hunt. It seems all the wild beasts in the area have mysteriously vanished. Surrounding forests, their risky expedition deep into the northern wilderness quickly turned into a dangerous encounter with storm wolves that commanded the deadly power of the elements. Chang was deeply worried for his sister's safety, his face showing his fear. But she just smiled reassuringly, telling him how an improvised earthen shelter saved her. Meanwhile, a glowing green gem sparkled brightly in Chang's outstretched palm. It was a rare prize, snatched away after they successfully distracted the hunting wolves. The wolves were distracted by other prey. Chang used his identification skill. It instantly revealed the wind gem's power, confirming his growing skill. His mentor laughed with proud approval. It was an incredibly simple artifact to use. Even a child could wield it, but suddenly, strange whispering voices filled his head. They echoed in Chang's mind, bringing a dark warning of someone's doom. Yet a bright smile lit up Chang's face. He realized he just unlocked a brand new talent. It was just like the legendary Fire Eater's awakening, but then absolute terror struck. Chang overheard the celestial foxes whispering about him inside the store. They were discussing Wang Ziman and throwing out some highly bizarre accusations. Their brutal plan to feast on humans confirmed Chang's absolute worst fears. The shop was completely surrounded. Meanwhile, cool, soothing water washed over Lucissa. She was relaxed, thoroughly enjoying these precious, quiet moments of absolute peace. She didn't have to rush, but the calm was shattered instantly. Her warm jade suddenly flared with a bright, terrifying red glow. It signaled danger for Chang, who was desperately burning his cold jade. He sent a frantic distress signal to his protector, sensing the beasts closing in. The impatient foxes were right outside. Suddenly, he heard Chu Chang's gentle voice. She had crept up behind him, deeply worried about her employees' bizarre actions. But Chang was too lost in his dark thoughts about how useless resistance was. Forcing a casual, easy smile onto his face, he quickly masked his panic. He suggested his sister visit Uncle Lu upstairs while he got dinner ready. Then he quietly slipped toward the exit, as his employer headed upstairs. She mentioned the wind gem. Her sharp eyes immediately caught his hidden anxiety. She saw his excitement. Chang had to save Wang Ximen. He needed to protect everyone. He quickly waved goodbye to his departing boss. Meanwhile, at the forge, Wang Ximen delivered a sharp, practiced kick into the air. She looked around, eagerly hoping for some approval from her master, who suddenly appeared. But instead of his usual correction, the master barked out a sharp command. His hand trembled as he grabbed the shocked girl by the wrist. He pulled her away. Suddenly, two dark silhouettes materialized right before them. They blocked the escape route completely, speaking with a playful, friendly tone. They mockingly asked where the two were going in such a rush. Wang Ximen stared in complete confusion. She recognized those faces. They looked like her parents, but her master protectively blocked the danger. Confused, Wang Ximen tried to peek out from behind her master's back. She insisted that everything was fine, completely unaware of the horrifying truth. He scanned their demonic system panels with absolute dread, feverishly calculating their terrible odds of surviving this encounter. The monsters had perfectly mimicked the shapes of those loving parents. These normal parents stare, wondering why her companion is so terrified. The young man keeps a tight grip on her hand, shielding her. Meanwhile, the girl innocently introduces her school friend to her parents. But behind them, writhing dark streaks suddenly tear through the air. This is the sign their long-awaited rescue is finally here. A spatial vortex suddenly swirls around the stunned girl and her companion. Enraged, giant foxes leap forward, trying to grab them before they vanish. The portal works fast. It pulls them right out of reality. Trembling, Wangmin only finds comfort inside his tight, reassuring embrace. Time slows down. The monsters close the gap in a flash. A massive clawed paw reaches out, aiming directly for their backs. Moving on instinct, the young hero makes a sharp turn. He shields her delicate body, taking the brutal claw strike directly. The teleportation ends. They crash hard onto a dark, mysterious floor. Landing in the dark dimension, the girl spots her mentor kneeling. But their relief is cut short. The monsters materialize right here. Wangmin is still completely confused about why her parents acted so strangely. The boy shouts a warning, exposing their true, horrifying nature. Those monsters freeze, cold eyes narrowing now that their cover is blown. Now look, their disguise is ruined, and the fake father snaps. His massive body leaps high into the air, lunging at the boy. The creature's lightning-fast strike barely misses as the young warrior reacts. He pulls his blade just in time, feeling the massive gap. While he struggles, the fake mother quietly sneaks up on her daughter. Sweet, gentle words hide her deep hunger to devour the girl's soul. Feeling the oncoming disaster, the boy frantically searches for a way out. He sees the lethal danger closing in on her, but he's cornered. Ruthless blows from the second monster drain his strength. His movements grow painfully slow. He is completely exhausted. But wait, a familiar, heroic voice suddenly cuts through the tension. Move. Her order to get out of the way sounds like a lifesaver. A massive wave of sharp ice spikes erupts from the darkness. Sharp blades hit. The freezing ice impales the fake mother. With the girl finally freed, a second wave of ice spears fires forward. The freezing spears impale the monster, currently lunging at the young man. Perfect hit. The flawless rescue combo leaves the beasts helpless. No hesitation. The defender wastes no time and prepares her final strike. Shielding the kids, her glowing blades flash through the dark air. With a series of brutal slashes, dark blood splatters across the floor. This is absolute retribution. The monsters never stood a chance. She lands gracefully as her glowing ice blades slowly dissolve into mist. Without even turning her head, she quietly asks if they are okay. But Wangmin's heartbroken scream suddenly shatters the quiet of the room. Her face twists with intense grief, unable to accept her parents' death. The boy desperately tries to explain that those were just monsters. A false family shattered, but the weeping girl still denied the obvious truth. Everyone else saw it, but Wang Zemin suddenly collapsed onto Jungping, stopping him. He was explaining how the royal fox boosted weak beasts into masters of illusion. Their power was unmatched, but Jungping realized he could see through it. This realization sparked in his mind as he walked straight toward the monster's corpse. He placed his hand directly onto the still beast, reaching for the false parent's face. His touch dispelled the final trace of magic, revealing the creature's actual, hideous form. This was the very monster that had slaughtered her real family. Seeing the dead beast transform right before her eyes shattered her denial. She was finally forced to face the gruesome truth of what happened to her parents. Her heavy sobbing slowly quieted down, replaced by a cold, numbing state of shock. Her blank stare tried to piece her shattered world back together into some new reality. Meanwhile, an anxious council of foxes gathered to discuss the deaths of their 9 allies. Their queen sat quietly on her throne, listening to their demands to exterminate all humanity. The arguing subordinates grew louder, tension filling the royal hall. But the queen broke the noise with a commanding shout, demanding absolute silence. The cool-headed lord spoke up next, calling a total human slaughter completely pointless. He suggested they systematically hunt down their hidden enemies instead. Then a bold courtier stepped forward and proposed bringing in other monster races. They could trigger mass chaos and quietly assassinate the city's strongest human defenders. He was absolutely certain that their enemies were hiding within Pearl City itself. The counselor mentioned 3 groups, suspecting a rogue lord was helping one. The others quickly backed the plan to lure in outside alien races. It seemed the board subjects were eager for some chaos in their dull lives. The queen slowly stepped down from her throne, weighing the dark plan. She evaluated the strategy, keeping the true king's ongoing slumber in mind. Then she turned to the pale counselor, a lethal warning dripping from her lips. She made it clear what would happen if he ever dared to betray her. He quickly fell to his knees, swearing loyalty and blaming the former lord's incompetence. A sinister red glow suddenly filled the eyes of the clever, scheming advisor. He believed only a ruthless, strong leadership could make their city truly prosper. Back in the dark dimension, a devastated Wang Zemin sat on the frozen ground. Her shaking fingers reached out, touching the dark pools of blood on the floor. Seeing the fresh blood on her fingers triggered another heavy wave of tears. In her shattered heart, she cried out for the parents she would never see again. She begged for forgiveness, wishing she had realized what was happening sooner. Jungping and Liu Shishi watched silently, unable to heal her deep pain. Liu Shishi bluntly pointed out that crying now would not change anything. But Jungping quickly signaled for Liu Shishi to stay quiet. Still, Wang Zemin blamed herself, weeping over her own helpless weakness. She hated that she could never master martial arts to protect her loved ones. Suddenly, Jungping moved close to the weeping girl and did something unexpected. He pulled her into a tight, comforting embrace, catching her completely by surprise. Gently patting her back, he spoke softly to ease her heavy heart. He told her to let go of the guilt, as their deaths were never her fault. Bitter memories of his own past trauma bleed through as the young man speaks of a close friend who was torn apart by fox claws while chasing a dream of joining the patrol. His quiet voice carries deep wisdom about the impossibility of altering what is destined, even when rewinding time, slowly sinking into the quiet girl. Mind of Wang Zemin, her quiet surrender to fate is suddenly shattered. It is replaced by Jungping's fierce promise to rewrite the future by growing stronger to protect those he loves. Deep gratitude fills her soul. Wang Zemin quietly sobs, deeply touched that her parents would be proud of her resolve to keep moving, but his vow to destroy all city monsters is suddenly cut short as a stream of blood erupts from the young man's mouth, leaving both women frozen in horror. Blurry shapes of 2 anxious faces hover over him, desperately trying to pull the wounded hero back to consciousness, as he violently fights against the failing strength of his own shattered body. Slowly, the darkness recedes, and the world clears in Jungping's mind. The soft, relieved voices of the girls welcome him back with warm smiles. His instinct to sit up in bed is instantly shut down by Lessa's stern warning, fearing the deep wound on her back might tear open. Wang Zemin declares her fierce vow to grow stronger with unexpected, ringing clarity. Her slender fingers squeeze the hand of the still dazed Jungping. Her fierce pledge of shared vengeance against the heavenly foxes is sealed with her 2-finger gesture, met by a supportive, faithful smile from Pin. Lessa steps in with a practical offer of a secure haven, promising absolute protection for Wang Zaman, who has lost both her home and family. But while they talk, bizarre whispers begin to echo inside Jungping's head. They whisper of Wang Zaman in a voice echoing schoolgirl Lu Shu. A chilling warning of sudden Fox clan movements sparks an instant, tense reaction. From the startled hero, who demands details of the whispered threat, Lessa quickly explains the dark betrayal of Pearl City's vice lord, who has allied himself with the sinister demonic Fox King, a master of mind-bending illusions. This is the perfect moment to strike back. While the beast sleeps, but it requires Jungping's special ability to detect cloaked monsters, he agrees instantly. Meanwhile, a hungry Uncle Liu impatiently waits for Jungping to bring home food, while his niece Chu Cheng comforts the old man, promising dinner will be ready soon. But elsewhere, dark, mysterious preparations are underway at the sweep team base, where a group of girls prepare to execute orders to unlock the secret chamber and activate the canopy. Manny and Chen Li whisper quietly about Lessa's terrifying power of persuasion as they approach the ancient mechanism activation site. Suddenly, a third member of their squad appears, offering them cups of hot coffee before their long shift, but they politely decline. No time for breaks, Shua unleashes a powerful frost spell, causing the entire room to instantly freeze over, signaling the start of the ceremony. Standing tall in the center of the drawn circle, the three girls awaken a massive, dark energy formation that surges violently into the sky. A blinding dome of light erupts over Pearl City, shielding them from the dark. To cover the entire metropolis, a secret operation was starting. Files were leaked. Our hero learned of a mysterious cleanup squad guarding his city. Their leader Manny possessed the power to trap enemies in dark dimensions. He led his three elite operatives. Shu Jai had sunlight enrichment, while Chinlo Wei controlled the shadows. This rounded out their arsenal, their ultimate sacred canopy, could trap king-level beasts inside a shifting dark space. This was their main weapon. Manny watched the busy streets, planning to hunt down the celestial foxes with silent, stealthy tactics. Down below, two heavily cloaked monsters walked calmly through the city. They were casually planning to snatch some unsuspecting citizens, but Menar warned his partner to be careful. He sensed a hidden danger lurking nearby. His cocky companion laughed, mocking his sudden cowardice. Menar only responded with a tense, highly anxious look. Something felt deeply wrong. Menar looked up at the sky while his cocky partner ignored the threat, but suddenly, a heavy weariness hit the second beast too. He spun round sharply, searching for the source of this unknown threat. Pure shock froze both predators. The busy street emptied in an instant, leaving them in the heavy silence of a trap. Staring into the void, they missed the deadly menace rushing at them from behind. Boom, the ground violently shook as a warrior landed, leaving a crater like a burning meteorite. Out of the thick dust, his body glowed with a bright yellow light. His voice was cold, wishing to instantly crush his foes. The cocky fox growled, threatening to call for backup as both beasts transformed into their true, hideous monster forms. But Jinbo, the 32nd ranked warrior, only laughed at them. He knew he was vastly superior to these 25th ranked beasts. Realizing their bluff had failed, the furious foxes charged forward to attack with wild, savage screams. Get ready, because Jinbo's smug confidence instantly turned to shock. Mingi suddenly grabbed his wrist, easily bypassing his defenses. A yellow liquid resembling blood sprayed from the contact point, completely baffling the mighty warrior for a crucial split second. Seizing this perfect opening, the other fox made a swift leap at his confused prey. Menar saw him as just another meal. Another strike unleashed more of that yellow liquid, stunning Jinbo, who thought he could block any attack. Mocking laughter echoed as the beast jumped back to a safe distance. Arrogance and sarcasm dripped from the predators, words mockingly asking how his prey felt before facing cert death. But suddenly, a fist blazing with bright yellow light. That strike smashes right into Minyong's jaw, instantly cutting off his mocking laugh and silencing him. The human fighter lets out a triumphant shout with the powerful blow. It sends the monster flying through the air, drawing a startled shriek from his partner. Rage twists the face of the surviving fox as he swings a clawed paw for vengeance against the level 32 fighter, but Jinbo, totally unfazed, He watches those lethal claws zoom in without a hint of fear. Showing absolute control, the warrior's lightning-fast hands reach out to grab the beasts. True arm invisible to ordinary eyes, showing off his insane instinct. Jinbo spits out a few mocking words about how cheap these attacks are, before violently twisting the monster's paw, forcing a hoarse shriek of absolute agony. The fox's desperate screech for help forces the wounded Minion to charge back into the fray to save his partner from certain death, but Jinbo's sixth sense tells him exactly where the second beast is sneaking up from behind. Without even turning, he delivers a perfect punch, fast, extremely fast. He catches up to the flying monster midair, giving him zero opportunity to recover. A fierce war cry echoes down the abandoned street, just as Jinbo unleashes a devastating kick that the monster cannot possibly dodge. He then drops from the sky like a guided missile, aiming straight at the battered and broken beasts whimpering on the hard ground below. He lands heavily right next to them, catching their terrified, desperate whispers. Trapped, caught in an invisible, inescapable cage with absolutely zero hope. Jinbo has clearly run out of patience, his face showing cold, hard determination, as he raises his fist to deliver the final strike to these monsters. And lets his energy explode. A blinding yellow flash lights up the area, like a small bomb, completely vaporizing the demonic beasts for good. Watching from a safe distance, Jungping is absolutely stunned by the spectacle, while Liu Shishi stands right beside him, breaking down the combat techniques. Hearing that Jinbo belongs to an elite squad of legendary fighters brings a proud grin to the young man's face, making him think of those retro video games he used to play. But get this, the contrast is striking. A deadly magical battle rages in secret, right here. Outside, ordinary folks are just going about their day. Suddenly, Liu Shishi's earpiece crackles with reports of a massive beast outbreak in the suburbs, putting the city's magical barrier in extreme danger. Her quick reply to the urgent command cuts off the incoming info about the celestial fox, leaving Jungping to wonder how it all connects to their recent battles. Ready to set off immediately, Liu Shishi promises to secure the forge, for Jungping delaying his meeting with the chief until this crisis is resolved. Jungping follows his partner outside the massive gates, taking in the scenery. He is completely captivated by the wild, exotic plants of this new world. Suddenly, Liu Shishi yanks the curious boy back from a strange flower, giving him a sharp warning look. Right then, a deafening blast forces them to spin around as a glowing green orb shoots into the sky. From the alien weed, it bursts like a firework, showering the air with a deadly, corrosive green mist that threatens to melt everything. Acid was splattered everywhere, and Sisa pointed toward the terrifying ruins of the glowing green slime, warning that this lethal fruit was currently in season. It would detonate on contact, but a far worse threat waited in the mutated beasts that actually fed on this highly toxic acid grass. Their first real enemy soon showed up, looking like nothing more than a cute little rabbit nibbling on those plants while Sisa stepped away. Using his appraisal skill, instantly brought up the true stats of this deceptive beast, showing it was a water slug rabbit, far deadlier than poisonous. Rats deciding to strike first, Jang immediately threw his sharp dagger straight at the unaware beast, hoping to end this battle instantly. But the creature had insane reflexes, dodging the lethal throw in a flash. His dagger slammed into the dirt as the terrified rabbit bolted away. Jang lunged forward, his blazing fist ready to cut off its escape. He blocked the fleeing beast, forcing a direct confrontation. And get this, the adorable creature instantly transformed into a raging monster. Its ears hardened into twin guns, spraying highly corrosive green acid. Shielding his eyes, Jang threw his arm up to block the toxic spray, desperately trying to protect himself from the rabbit's relentless, burning barrage. Seizing the moment, the rabbit leapt high into the thick jungle brush. It vanished instantly, leaving Jang behind to deal with the burning acid. That slippery little beast had intentionally triggered the nearby toxic plants, causing a deadly, raining shower of burning green acid droplets. Quickly, Jang rushed over to retrieve his thrown dagger first. His mind raced as he analyzed the rabbit's incredible scent and reflexes. Then there was its main strategy, spraying an acid barrier to stop anyone from getting close before luring them right into those exploding fruits. But wait, why wasn't his skin burning after touching that corrosive sludge? Jang stared down at his unscathed hand, a sudden realization hitting him. His flame magic was actually neutralizing the acid, keeping him completely safe. To test this, he summoned his flame magic, watching his fist ignite. With bright, crackling embers, just then, the slug rabbit ambushed him again, unleashing huge, burning streams of caustic green slime from its weaponized ears. Brimming with newfound confidence, Jang didn't even flinch at the incoming blast, calmly waving his burning hand to block the strike. The intense heat instantly vaporized every single droplet before it could touch him. With his other hand, Jang slowly drew his dagger, finally understanding why Sisa had remained so incredibly relaxed during the whole fight. Seeing its attack fail, the rabbit completely lost its mind with rage. Its red eyes glowed as it realized its favorite weapon was useless. With a screech, the beast lunged forward in a desperate, physical assault. Jang instantly sensed that this monster was entering its second, deadlier phase. Its blinding speed left him no time to plan, forcing him to focus entirely on dodging the ferocious claw swipes coming from all directions. But several deep slashes on his arm revealed a brand new danger. Those sharp claws were coated in acid, and Pa quickly yelled out a warning. Range attacks are useless, but he spots a deep, bleeding wound on the beast. From his last strike, he stands wrapped in protective cocoon of fire, clutching his dagger with a very tense hand. He realizes this strategy is vital against these corrosive attacks. He has to act fast as his energy drains. It is down to 43%. He quickly materializes a fire trap. To trap the beast, boldly, our hero rushes forward to challenge the rabbit. Sprinting forward, he executes his tactical plan perfectly. Now the hero's fiery sword creates a closed ring of flames around his confused enemy. Triumphant shout rings out as he delivers the final blow, but wait. His energy reserve plummets to a critical 3%, a deceptive downward swing makes the rabbit dodge, throwing the hero into a moment of confusion. Never expecting such a quick reaction from his prey, however, a sly smile spreads across his face. Perfect, the plan is working out well, but now he must trigger his Flame Eater's special ability. He sends a sharp mental command to the beast, telling it to eat up the flames. Instantly, his magical reserve refills for the final blow. He swings his blade with renewed strength, certain that the beast cannot escape this airborne firestorm. Suddenly, a massive wave of intense flame surges forward, completely engulfing the water rabbit and turning it into a charred mass that crashes to the scorched earth. But the lack of immediate rewards means he must deliver a finishing blow to finally put it down. He drives his blade deep into the motionless body, earning 2 stat points, yet that coveted level up is still out of reach. But hey, a pleasant surprise pops up. System alert confirms his Flame Eater's skill has upgraded, bringing a wave of excitement to our tired hero, but the joy is short-lived. A strange rustling sound makes him turn around wearily, instinctively. Sensing a new threat, his eyes widen at the sight of a massive pack of furious water rabbits charging right at him, forcing him to spit out a quick curse. To make matters worse, he makes a terrifying discovery. The Flame Eater has only 2% energy left after using everything on that single attack, and honestly, facing this incoming horde, things look hopeless. He is completely outnumbered by these ferocious rabbits. The pack leader suddenly halts right in front of him, showing off a mouthful of sharp teeth. It lets out a threatening scream, which is instantly echoed by the entire pack. Suddenly, a lifesaver of an idea flashes in his mind. He frantically fumbles in his inner pocket, searching for his only hope of survival, the tiny bit of remaining flame should be just enough to trigger his jade token, and he knows he must get out of there right this second. Grabbing the stone, a desperate cry for Sisa to save him bursts from his chest. The very last sparks of magic ignite the protective talisman in his shaking fingers, but his retreat is cut off by a fresh pack of water rabbits blocking his last escape path. No escape route. This tight encirclement completely rattled the young hero. He realized these primitive beasts could coordinate complex tactics. Truly a hopeless situation. The young warrior braced himself and crouched low, covering his head as he braced for inevitable contact with their deadly acid spray. Then, a sudden miracle. A massive ice wall rose behind him, shielding him with familiar water magic. He joyfully recognized Sisa. She saved him from toxic rain. But his relief quickly faded as Liu Shiki gestured for her to step aside and prepare to fight. He warned her about Rabbit Rages smoothly moving his hands, he gathered his elemental power. He concentrated water energy for a fierce counterattack, a massive wall of water formed right before the unsuspecting beasts, ready to collapse. With absolute devastating force, the crushing wave immediately swallowed their burrow, sweeping the screaming creatures away in a violent torrent. Sisa immediately launched the second phase of her attack. Snapping her fingers, she froze the water into solid ice, leaving him standing there in utter shock. Sisa was genuinely confused by this sudden spike in the rabbit population, though she got no real response from her shrugging companion, but a chilling warning of endless enemies came to life as another wave swarmed forward, forcing Liu Shiki to summon his ice sword, yet they did not attack. Instead, the beasts rushed toward the frozen block, desperate to free their leader from that icy prison. Wait, what are they doing? This completely baffled everyone. The rabbits completely ignored them. This led Sisa to suspect a hidden lure was controlling them. Leaping decisively straight into the thick of the battle, she unleashed a deadly onslaught, piercing through the aggressive creatures one by one with her icy blade. She let out a satisfied remark on defeating the last foe before a final strike ended the battle. But an intuitive hunch about a hidden cause inside the leaders body drew Liu Shiki to the massive ice block holding the giant beast. As he touched the cold surface, the ice instantly began to melt, freeing the monster's body so they could inspect this bizarre mass. Insanity, a careful search through the melting remains soon culminated in a sudden cry of joy as his sharp eyes spotted a hidden artifact. Inside, Liu Shiki held up a small blue sphere that emitted a strange glow. It was the pill of soul attraction. Its curiously sweet aroma instantly caught the attention of the young hero, who soon learned this was actually a highly specialized beast control device. The chilling link between this artifact and the notorious Jubi's family sent a shiver down Sisa's spine, realizing how dangerous the situation was. She explained that the unique scent of this pill could only be sensed by wild low and mid-level beasts, revealing how the device operated. Unlike standard hero gems, this insidious pill used an irresistible aroma that practically forced the monsters to willingly swallow it, but the tragic fate awaiting any beast that ate it was losing their mind entirely. Minds and being enslaved to the will of the Zhu family, who controlled their domesticated beasts. The pill simply would not dissolve. This prevented the brainwashing process from naturally completing, spiking the massive danger of a chaotic outbreak. The link between this beast riot and that pill was undeniable, demanding an urgent report to headquarters over there. Headset. When ordered to train outside the city, the young warrior offered a salute, bringing a bright smile to Sisa's face, but someone was secretly watching them from the trees. Suddenly, her gentle smile vanished, replaced by razor-sharp battle focus. She stepped forward, unleashing an icy blast that caught him off guard. The lethal strike rushed toward a lone tree, hiding a mysterious shadow. But it hit empty air, leaving absolutely no trace behind. Zhang stared at his protector in complete and utter confusion. Sisa said nothing, she just brushed it off as a meaningless incident, though she secretly doubted her own eyes. Soon after, a servant rushed in to notify the princess of the Fox clan's arrival from the nearby Tinker Street neighborhood, capturing her full attention. A dark suspicion loomed. Hangzamun's role in the beast riots flashed through her mind. She realized she could not rely on untrustworthy humans anymore. Filled with raw determination, the princess rose majestically from her throne, staring down at the loyal, worshipping creatures gathered before her. A fiery crimson aura flared around her as she spoke of their failure to overcome mental control. Her plan was set. She would draw their foe out with artificial chaos, sending uneasy glances through the trembling crowd, knowing they were being used as mere bait. The princess silenced them with a single, cold, commanding glare. They immediately bowed. Meanwhile, in a quiet clearing, several water rabbits peacefully chewed on toxic weeds under the twilight, completely unaware of the deadly shadows creeping closer and closer. Suddenly, Zhang's sharp dagger flashed through the dark toward his prey. A swift, silent plunge, it cut cleanly through the night. The blade bit deep, instantly bursting the rabbit into flames. These creatures scattered in terror. He smiled with pride. A whole week of grueling hunting had finally pushed him to level 6. Standing with supreme confidence, he stood completely still as a violent hail of toxic green acid rained down. He knew their patterns. His fire barrier flared, instantly evaporating the burning liquid into harmless, drifting steam. He noted that when these rabbits are cornered, they coat their own fur in burning acid to prepare for melee combat. But while the acid was dangerous, the flame alone was not enough to finish them off. He needed a catalyst. Pulling out a pink pebble of red snake scales, he hurled it. As the flames intensify, memories of his workshop fire confirm a wild new theory. Perpetual combustion is real. A rabbit trapped in the fire just keeps blazing. The fire never dies. Suddenly, his ironically named Fire Eater talent triggers. Spiraling flames erupt, and the three flavors of True Flame Vortex appears. Jungping stands completely unfazed, looking smug amidst the wild destruction. A fiery tornado sweeps through, spinning and burning the poor rabbits alive. He barely even turns his head, letting out a heavy sigh, mourning the loss of his entire stockpile of hard-earned snake scales. That took forever to collect, but hey, the level up should be worth it. Eager to see his rewards, he takes another look at the charred remains. The unfortunate creatures are thoroughly toasted. Suddenly, a big grin hits his face. His identification skill flashes on, confirming some incredibly sweet upgrades. Level up, his contract gem got a massive new boost. He inspects the new blue gem, noticing the synchronization is a bit off. His level 6 body and this level 4 artifact are slightly out of sync. Jungping turns away, swallowing the blue gem to unlock a new talent. He hopes for a combat skill, but a sudden noise behind him interrupts him. Ritual interrupted, he turns around to find the source. He looks back only to witness something that should be completely impossible. Jungping stares in shock at a resurrected rabbit cloaked in dark energy. No fear, just pure combat excitement in his eyes. He summons his fire, completely confident in his newly awakened power. With a determined leap, he charges straight toward the mocking beast. The shadowy creature sneers, but Jungping will not back down. He closes the distance in a flash, swinging his blazing blade forward. Shock strikes him as the beast launches a very direct counterattack. The shadow beast dodges with insane agility, slipping right past his strike. Jungping is genuinely amazed. His precise attacks usually never miss like this. The dark beast mockingly laughs, leaving him even more confused. Is he fighting some sort of vengeful rabbit ghost? With a furious shout of die, he unleashes a devastating blade strike. Whatever this thing is, it has to go. The blow hits hard. Down it goes. The dark energy slowly dissolves into absolute nothingness. The rabbit turns white again. Jungping is immediately curious about its power. He wonders how it used that bizarre water bullet skill in battle. Maybe the soul-luring pill had something to do with it. He pulls out a sharp dagger, carefully slicing open the dead beast. As he searches the carcass, he suddenly feels something strange. An oddly shaped purple ball sits in his palm, instantly catching his interest. He tries to identify it, but his first few attempts fail completely. This thing must be extremely rare and incredibly hard to recognize. But Jungping refuses to give up, pushing his limits to scan it. His persistence pays off when the system finally identifies the item. It is dark mist essence. Naturally, he has to try and activate it. An enraged black goat materializes, cloaked in a thick purple fog. This mystical beast charges westward, breaking through a relentless wave of enemies. Forest beasts and birds try to block its path, but a single command unleashes the goat's dark energy, sending it surging toward an incoming target. A massive boar charges. For a split second, time completely freezes. The beast is suspended in midair, just inches away from those razor-sharp horns. This is no typical attack. The tactics are far more sinister. A paralyzing blow from the horns is followed by a brutal bite. Dark mist forces its way into the boar's nose, mouth, and ears. The creature is consumed from within. Nearby, a violet light begins to pulse. Jang stares at the glowing stone in his palm, resembling a legendary relic. To unlock its power, he has to absorb it, yet he hesitates. Knowing this ancient artifact belongs to the black goat makes Jang pause in doubt. He studies the pulsing stone. Suddenly, a warning echoes in his mind. His own strength is nothing compared to the dark magic sealed inside. Still, as he stares at the mysterious artifact, his hesitation vanishes. Making up his mind, the young man places the stone in his mouth. Grabbing his throat, he swallows it whole. That is when the torture begins. The foreign power rips through him. An agonizing scream tears from his throat. He clutches his ears as the absolute darkness wraps around his entire body. Losing all self-control, he screams in pure agony. Jang thrashes on the ground, clawing at his head to escape the pain. Through the blinding torment, memories of his strange embrace with Su Jinyao surface. Back then, his body moved entirely on its own, betraying his will. Remembering her causes his eyes to flash with a brilliant, vengeful scarlet. Memories cut deep. He remembers her friend, forced to control a celestial beast. That massive celestial fox was dragged into battle by a truly cruel, inescapable fate. Her tearful, blood-stained face and her final plea to stay alive flash before him. Those words are burned into Jang's soul with absolute, crystal clarity. He makes a silent, vicious promise. He will not die until they are gone. Writhing in the dirt, his burning hatred keeps him from slipping away. Finally, the agony recedes as system notifications announce a powerful new combat talent. Its strength depends entirely on the dark mist he manages to absorb. Checking his stats, he is shocked to see a massive 3-star growth boost. The Stygian mist body has unlocked unreal potential. Tears stream down his face. As the dark energy fades from his hands, he is left completely exhausted. A bitter laugh escapes his lips. He struggles to find his footing again. He continues to weep, completely bewildered by his bizarre new appearance. A chaotic storm of rage and sorrow rages inside him. Yet his burning desire to avenge Su Jinyao remains absolutely unbreakable. Nearby, a couple of travelers spot the lone survivor sitting by the campfire. One stranger calls out, asking if he is okay. The others whisper, nervous. They tell him to steer clear and just head straight back to town. But the man persists, prompting Jang to slowly stand up. As he rises, dark energy begins to leak from his body, terrifying them. Jang turns around, his furious gaze locking directly onto the trembling travelers. Terrified bystanders dropped their things and froze in absolute horror at his very first words. They ran away screaming about a ghost, leaving our hero standing there completely bewildered. He realized he could absorb their fear and turn it into a dark mist. This strange, brand new energy made the young man smile with genuine excitement. He could actually shape this fog with just a single thought. To prove it, his own hand suddenly transforms into a black beastly paw. Wondering just how strong this was, he conjures up a dark energy dagger. The swirling mist fades away, leaving the solid weapon resting right in his hand. For his first test, he hurls the energy blade straight at a nearby tree. He needs to see exactly what this new weapon can do. With just one clean, effortless strike, the massive wooden trunk is sliced completely in half. He catches the returning dagger on the fly, amazed by its sheer cutting power. Hyped by this success, he keeps going. He aims his level 1 blade directly at the falling piece of wood. A rapid flurry of strikes instantly shreds the heavy log into perfect wooden cubes. Only the green leafy top remains. Suddenly, a dark energy shield manifests. It blocks the raining splinters, showing him that this Stygian mist is incredibly versatile. Offense and defense in one. Talk about a massive power-up. He could use this against those high-level alienated beasts with the cleanup crew. Staring at the purple glow in his hand, he completely misses Sisa approaching him. Her familiar voice echoes out as she rushes straight toward the training field. She lands right beside him in a flash, instantly scanning the entire area. Her intense inspection only leaves the young warrior looking deeply confused. She demands to know about the mist beast, forcing him to smile awkwardly. He prepares to confess his reckless little experiment to his intense mentor. Her furious reaction to him absorbing the dark mist shows her deep concern. Knowing how lethal this is, she gets right up in his face. She angrily scolds him for being foolish enough to swallow an unknown substance. It almost killed him. She turns away in frustration, showing her deep anger. He tries to defend himself, saying he can easily purge the essence. But Caesar is not buying his naive, overconfident excuses at all. She skeptically asks how exactly he plans to remove this parasite. His reckless confidence means absolutely nothing to her. A glowing blue stone appears in her hand as she gives a warning. She warns him that this thing could easily take over his body. Panic finally washes over his face as the true danger sinks in. This swallowed entity is a ticking time bomb inside of him. She explains that these strange, formless beasts hijack host bodies to survive. They completely take over, and the truth she drops next is terrifying. The black goat and bullet rabbit were actually puppets controlled by this very fog. The sinister nature of these parasites makes them incredibly dangerous. Once their host dies, they hide in the organs and wait for someone new. The Stygian mist has complete control over its infected puppets. Fear hits Jang. Is he already infected by this thing? He suddenly remembers the brutal pain he felt after absorbing it. Jungping tried to retake control of his own body, raising questions about why the parasite failed. This uncertain turn of events clearly worried the young girl. As she spoke of the young warrior's strange nature, perhaps an inner monster, or some rare gift for absolute self-control protected him, still the threat of a sudden attack made the young hero gasp in shock. He finally understood his mentor's heavy warning and knew he had to apologize. Facing a terrifying warrior who tolerated zero foolishness, it was his only choice. Then a tiny spider suddenly dropped down on a thin web between them, right between the young man and his companion, but he barely even noticed. After all, he was used to much bigger threats, but Lu Shisa's reaction was the complete opposite, as she shrieked in absolute terror at the sight of the tiny creature. She started wildly swinging her weapons, jumping around in a panic that left the young warrior completely frozen in shock. As the tiny spider scurried away, she suddenly fell right into his arms, leaving him totally dazed by how easily this fierce warrior was rattled. This sudden vulnerability brought back old childhood memories, adding a touch of warmth to the moment as Jungping gently patted her back to comfort his embarrassed mentor. A clear memory from their childhood suddenly flashed through his mind. He was just a little boy holding a bug, running excitedly toward Lu Shisa, who was reading under a tree, but the moment he showed her his little treasure, she panicked, screaming and flailing her arms in terror, and begging him to throw it away. The little boy was so confused when her tears forced him to drop his new insect friend, and even her gentle words could not make up for his lost playmate. With a slumped head, the boy worried about being left all alone. Once his friends from the orphanage eventually moved away, but she hugged him, promising they would be friends forever to chase his dark thoughts away. That shared vow bound their fates together, and yet a tiny doubt still lingered in the back of Jungping's mind, wondering if forever truly existed. A sudden jolt snapped him right back to the present moment, where the flustered young girl was still clinging tightly to his chest. Blushing furiously, she suddenly pushed him away, unleashing a burst of elemental magic. A solid block of ice instantly froze the bewildered young warrior solid. Lu Shisa stood there, crossing her arms and lecturing him on staying alert in dangerous places before finally shattering the ice to set him free. With a smug smile, she demanded he remember this painful lesson today, and the shivering young man could only nod in quiet agreement. A soft smile tugged at his lips as he realized something important. Her cold, distant attitude was just a mask for her deep care. Suddenly, the warm jade in Lu Shisa's hands began to glow brightly, and her frantic voice over the comms cut his thoughts short. Their mission was cut short because Commander Jinbo was gravely wounded, meaning they had to rush back to Pearl City immediately. The young hero was shocked that their strongest leader could fall, and Lu Shisa promised to explain the full crisis on the way. During the return journey, he hears a tale about the harsh world beyond the city. Walls, vicious, mutated beasts forced humanity to set up massive defensive barriers stopping any exploration. Scattered villages and wild settlements huddle inside small safe zones, while the distant seas crawl with terrifying high-level monsters. After she safely arrives at her final destination, she immediately asks a teammate about the current state of things and the sacred canopy's actual ability to detect any strange, mutated beasts. Just then, an urgent report about the Tinker Street foxes reveals a trap set by a hidden prepper, leaving the brave Jinbo heavily wounded. Jang quickly volunteers to help, but gets very strict orders to go back to the Spirit of Iron and await his master's next commands. The boy stops at the city gate, watching the distant shapes of the departing troop, silently praying for the safety of the courageous Jinbo and the clever Sisa. The relief of finally finishing a long, exhausting day in the desert brings out a massive yawn and a deep stretch to his tired, aching muscles, fully lost inside his thoughts about Wang Zimin. The young man walks right past a local stall without noticing the highly bizarre actions of the merchant who is dealing with a customer nearby. Suddenly, a cold shiver shoots down his spine, stopping him in his tracks as if some invisible force field is blocking his path. Slowly looking past the counter, The young man freezes in absolute shock, noticing the eerie, unnatural stillness of everyone around him, frozen in place like lifeless wax dolls. Suddenly, a figure steps out from the dark alley and trust me, his panicked voice sets off massive alarm bells, making him recoil. He triggers his appraisal, but it has zero effect. The mysterious old man simply chuckles, pointing out the boy's special ability to spam that appraisal skill forever. A cold sweat breaks out on the hero's forehead as he realizes the truth. This wanderer somehow knows his secret mental trick of constantly forcing his body to scan things. Although the elder's calm and gentle look seems harmless, his sinister aura triggers a deep, primal fear that makes the young man instinctively grip his combat dagger. The mysterious guest's crimson eyes narrow as he playfully asks if they must fight, radiating a heavy, hostile vibe with every word. The hero hesitates, considering if he should run, since there is no real point in clashing, but the old man scoffs with a sharp, biting question about his power and drive. The sudden mention of Su Jing Yao instantly shatters all his caution. He lunges forward, gripping his heavy weapon at his side, giving the ultimate answer to this direct provocation. Armed with pure determination, the boy decides to grant his enemy's death wish, rushing headlong at his target with a blazing knife, aiming for a clean, fatal strike. But an ugly shock ruins his ambush. The air directly ahead of him suddenly cracks like fragile glass, showing gaping fissures that look like a dimensional rift. Adjusting his footing in a split second, he recognizes this spatial magic, spinning on his heel to spot the stranger waiting right behind him. He throws a swift punch, but his fist stops dead, firmly caught by the old man's hand. In a calm voice, the elder tells him to work on the overall speed of his strikes. The hero's sharp comeback instantly dies into an uncomfortable quiet. Their burning auras completely vanish, leaving behind only the elder's cold, staring eyes. Suddenly, the sharp crackle of a fire eater's flame breaks the silence again. A fist wrapped in smoldering flames shoots out from behind him, targeting the old man. Instantly, the elder's defense triggers, leaving him completely unharmed by the fiery attack. This zero-damage result puzzles Jungping, who stares back with growing suspicion. A calm voice breaks the silence, revealing how the technique actually works. Sadhu is actually standing far off, controlling the blue water clone right in front of him. The young man finally realizes the truth. It is a water elemental doppelganger. Right then, Sadhu fires a blue arrow straight through the water projection. Jungping barely dodges in time, curses slipping from his lips in disbelief. Sadhu's endless skills shock him as he retreats through a sudden hail of razor-sharp ice balls. His Stygian fog is at a critical 18%, but he cannot afford to hesitate. Driven into a corner, he makes a highly risky move to save his own skin. A shield of dense fog deflects the freezing shards, letting him charge ahead fearlessly. Confident and ready, he prepares to launch a massive counteroffensive. A solid plan takes shape: shatter the old man's defenses with one overwhelming strike. He lunges forward instantly, targeting Sadhu, who is standing completely still. He readies his Night Walker skill to pierce right through those heavy defenses. Making his move, he suddenly hears Sadhu praising his impressive tactical thinking. Sadhu commends his brain, but notes his lack of real battlefield efficiency. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupts, washing out the entire street. A massive, invisible shockwave blasts him backward, slamming him hard onto the cold ground. As he lies on the asphalt, Sadhu speaks about the sheer rarity of such power. Lying defeated, Jungping silently wonders if this monster is reading his thoughts. As Sadhu turns to leave, Jungping calls out with a final question. Trying to pick himself up, the youth is forced to admit he cannot even move. He silently acknowledges that Sadhu's power is on an entirely different level. He easily outclasses Jinbo and Sisa, making Jungping realize this must be the cleaning team's leader. He watches Sadhu's silhouette fade away, offering a deep, respectful bow. Later, gathering his strength, the young man cautiously approaches the mysterious old man's table. Sadhu just offers an enigmatic smile, letting the silence hang between them. He asks if the kid already knows his name, putting Jungping instantly on edge. Shock washes over his face as he ponders the cleaning team's true, hidden agenda. Actually meeting Sadhu face-to-face feels unreal as he slowly sits down opposite the legend. Suddenly, a cold warning reminds him that overthinking is useless against a telepath. It is absolutely pointless to try hiding any secrets from Sadhu's mind reading. This sudden display of mind reading completely silences Jungping in absolute shock. Sadhu's 200-year absence from Pearl City explains his curiosity in this unusual rookie. Confused, the boy practically blurts out a question about the nature of limitless power. He demands to know where human talent ends and true godhood begins. Sadhu explains the massive gap between a normal awakened and someone with limitless potential. Normal humans get just one lifetime skill, while a limitless level user constantly gains new ones. Hearing this explanation, the youth watches Sadhu's eyes flash with an ominous blue light. The elder asks with terrifying seriousness if he has a very specific capability. Specifically, can Jungping copy the contract gem using his own inner mana? Sadhu smiles, offering to answer any question the young man has in return. Cautiously, Jungping asks what happens if he decides to reject the offer. The old man offers to look at the gift first before making a decision, holding out an open box with a shimmering gold piece, this ancient golden vault. Bracelet J2's signature equipment from his early years contains a storage skill that is highly valuable even to regular people. Sincere joy and gratitude sweeps over the young man as he realizes the immense value of this generous gift. As his hands involuntarily reach out for it, suddenly a serious look appears on the old man's face as he demandingly extends his hand, emitting pulsing blue. Without hesitating for a second, Jang puts out his palm, letting the blue glow from Saitu's hand completely encompass their joined hands. Deep concentration plunges the leader of the sweep team into silence, mumbling quietly to himself with his eyes closed, and in a moment he opens them and lowers his hand. Surprise flashes across the young man's face after the sudden end of the check. Sensing no change, the elder recognizes the uniqueness of the young guest, explaining that he cannot replicate or copy even the derivative talents of this unusual guest. The elder slides the closed box across the table, simply saying it is yours, handing over the precious treasure to its new owner, gratefully. Accepting the gift, Jang immediately opens the box, taking out the mysterious bracelet and applies his identification skill to it. Suddenly, a shocking vision of a girl suspended by ropes by her limbs and suffering in absolute agony appears before the young man's eyes as part of the item's bloody history. The next scene shows a brutal murder through the pouring of molten gold, confirming that human lives were actually sacrificed for gear. How sick is that? This horrifying, cruel process grips Jang as he continues to hold the bracelet and ponder the bloody price of magical gear, a highly disturbing question about whether all special equipment is forged. This brutally is put directly to Saitu, who clearly knows the truth. Even though these acts were banned 200 years ago, some still perform the sacrifices, though the proper use of these items brings peace to the dead. Still, Jang's curiosity demands answers about Pearl City's past, and if it was always this bloody and full of people slaughtering each other. Yes, exactly, Saitu confirms with a heavy sigh as he sets down his teacup, showing a deeply worried look. Long ago, the Zhu family's tyrannical grip over ancient Pearl City made them absolute kings, letting them indulge in every sick whim with complete impunity. This hopeless slavery forced men to labor day and night for tiny scraps of food, performing crushing, exhausting physical labor. The humiliating fate of women, turned into slaves and mere playthings for men of the ruling dynasty, stripped them of all dignity and human rights. Children were systematically brainwashed, forced to pledge loyalty to the rulers, turning them into a completely obedient generation of mindless, empty servants. Those too old to work met a horrifying end, used as feed for the vicious, savage beasts of their cruel masters. The fate of awakened users was sealed, either forced into slavery by the Zhu family or slaughtered as raw materials for making magical gear. These sick atrocities finally sparked a fierce rebellion as strong fighters united to strike back. To overthrow that family's brutal tyranny, the leader nods with a thoughtful look. He clearly understands this gruesome story, while the young man prepares to pour some tea for the leader of the elite sweep team. Soon, a polite question gets a surprising turn. The young man admires the elder's legendary power. He asks him about his past clash with the Moon Prince. The master explains his restraint. It was necessity, not fear. He completely rejects any talk of weak city defenses before the foxes invaded, calling it a lie. Pearl City's defense system is actually flawless, backed by the constant work of investigators weeding out traitors. Meanwhile, secret sweep operations at the city gates form an invisible barrier, shielding them against unwanted threats from the outside world. their ultimate piece of defense. Is a king-level artifact, the Pearl of the Sun and Moon, which weakens any creature. In the area down to level 40 or lower, the majestic old leader stands tall and turns his back to the boy, showing his status as a legendary, elite warrior. A sudden realization hits him. The young man leaps up. From his seat, his question about a rat in town gets a swift nod as confirmation, since the city lord vanished, control of the powerful artifact rests solely with Siu and the surviving members of the Jew family, who know the activation secrets if the Jew clan actually disabled it. To let the heavenly foxes in and stage a revolt, then why not wipe them out? Immediately, the elder offers wise words about how tough it is to clear out deep weeds when a clan has spent centuries spreading their roots throughout the city structure. The boy continues pressing with questions about the Jew family's goals and the missing lord's fate. He wants answers about the rebellion and the strength of the Fox King. Said Shirbai silently reminds himself why caution is vital. He knows a leader is vital. Without one, Pearl City has no hope. This restraint is their nuclear deterrent. It shows the wisdom of an elder remaining calm, despite the Moon Prince's wild provocations. Knowing he cannot copy the boy's unique abilities, the master frankly tells him how much the organization needs his help. Turning around to face him, Sadhu Shuai extends an open hand, offering Sadhu Shuai Mark Zhang's formal invitation to join the elite sweep team deciding the city's fate. The boy stares at his hand for a quiet moment, then grips it with a firm, determined handshake, fully ready to protect Pearl City. Meanwhile, evening darkness slowly wraps the busy streets as hammers clang inside the Spirit Iron Forge, where news spreads of Chu Chang's sudden decision to repair old gear in his spare time. Wang Gamin lets out a soft, wistful sigh, breaking the workshop's quiet mood. As she speaks of Jungping's absence, nearby, Sister Chong methodically continues her work. When asked if she's lonely, the young student calmly denies it, claiming her distraction is only because she lacks a teacher to guide her training. Sitting back, the girl barely fights back her tears, deeply worried about her friend's safety in the uncharted lands outside the city walls. The sly blacksmith approaches the worried girl. With a smile, she compares her to a troubled daughter-in-law, leaving her deeply embarrassed. She tries to cover her ears, but the workshop owner's soft laughter easily breaks the heavy tension before she returns to working with the newly finished knife. The skilled craftswoman plunges the glowing blade into cold water, warning of the dangerous borders that keep Jungping safe. Beyond those boundaries, pure shock is written all over the face of her seated companion, hearing for the very first time about hidden villages lying far beyond the safe borders of Pearl City. Chu Chang keeps up her cryptic knife movements, describing those isolated settlements as hostile and incredibly inhospitable enclaves of hermits. The grim tales of bizarre local cults practicing alienated beast worship make the young girl shudder, imagining the grim fate of any lost travelers. Yet, her naive belief in peaceful discussion with these creatures shines through in Wang Zimin's voice, her hand held up in hopeful desperation for the absolute best in everyone. Still, the dark reputation of those savages sounds so terrifying from Chu Chang that the Beastmaster representative turns completely pale, her creepy tales of painted masks and silent, sudden appearances right behind someone are met with a sudden flare of shadowy energy behind the storyteller herself. Wang Zimin's terrified scream cuts the story short as a sinister shape swells to massive proportions, forming the outline of a demonic face. The craftswoman slowly turns her head, directly locking eyes with the monster's glowing red eyes, only to calmly point out the striking resemblance to her tail. When the actual danger finally sinks in, the woman's casual posture completely freezes, her eyes widening in absolute terror. This dark mist is actually just Jungping's prank, but it makes a massive impact on Wang Zimin, sending her running for her life, pale with fear. His disguise is incredibly realistic, but the fearless Chu Chang reacts with a brutally fast and heavy kick straight between the intruder's legs. Instant agonizing pain shoots right through Jungping's body, and his face contorts into a painful twist, taking everything he has to keep any shred of his dignity, while screaming inside to ignore the pain. He ends up pathetically whimpering to Chu Chang, accusing her of overreacting. Hearing her name instantly alerts Chu Chang, whose fighting stance shows she is ready to protect herself and the terrified Wang Zimin from this unknown monster. As the creepy mask fades, Jungping is finally revealed. doubled over in agony and clutching himself after taking that massive blow. Instant relief washes over the girls, though their racing minds leave them. Completely speechless after such a sudden twist, an annoyed Chu Chang grabs the prankster by his collar, playfully ruffling up his messy hair, and scolding him for intentionally scaring innocent people, still grinning. The trickster explains he only wanted to spice up their spooky conversation about those creepy forest savages, never expecting such a painful defense. Once she finally lets him go, the young man lets out a heavy sigh when asked about his training progress, deciding to test his newly improved skills right here in the city. Just then, sudden news of a solid clue about Shan Shan forces Chu Chang's abrupt departure. She was already getting dressed, catching him completely off guard before he could say a word. Just before she mentioned that someone was waiting for him, a quiet, awkward silence filled the room. She turned away in embarrassment. The blushing girl was completely flustered. Hurrying to her room on trembling legs, she carefully avoided his gaze. She had missed her returning companion so much, but as she reached the door, she froze completely. She whispered Jungping's name but couldn't look back. Finally, gathering every bit of her courage after a long, tense pause, Wang Xiamen turned around with a bright smile, showing her pure joy at his return. That sweet, comforting feeling of home washed over the young man for the first time. He had wandered this world for so long. Now, he simply offered a quiet wave. But get this, out of nowhere, the old master popped up, shattering his peace. This sudden intrusion made the hero jump. He was startled right out of his thoughts. The old man solemnly asked him to deliver a message about his niece's severe illness. Hearing this, Jungping grew deeply worried, fearing the absolute worst for Uncle Lu. No explanation followed. Instead, the annoyed master suddenly raised his heavy wooden cane. He began smacking him on the head, raining down light, playful blows. The sickness was a lie, yet Jungping couldn't stop smiling. He tried to ask a question, but the old man immediately cut him off. The old man grimly revealed that Shanshan had gone missing, climbing onto a chair. The master explained his clever plan. The fake sickness was to stop his niece from going on a dangerous search for his lost daughter. Her absolute devotion to any cause was his main concern. He wanted to prevent unnecessary risk while quietly puffing on his pipe. Recognizing the boy's incredible talent, the master promised to pass on his secrets. He would teach him the unique forging style of the Lu clan. The old man demanded perfection. Jungping proudly beat his chest in response. He vowed to meet those high expectations, promising to master the secret craft. Suddenly, mysterious blue energy flared up, quickly filling the entire room, with ghostly whispering voices that softly called out the hero's name. The smiling spirit of Su Jingyao, the girl he loved, appeared in the glow. She warmly greeted her close friend, whispering sweet words of encouragement. He looked on in complete disbelief, wondering if this was actually real, while her fading image promised to patiently wait for his safe return. The only proof of this strange meeting was a single magical feather that drifted onto the street outside right after the vision vanished. Following the old man's wishes, Jungping trained in absolute secret, mastering the art while a highly suspicious Chuch Chang lingered in the city. This even forced the stubborn, sick old master to finally quit smoking. Using the secret technique, Jungping refined his powerful Stygian mist, giving it a much sharper form and boosting its magical strength. Meanwhile, Wang Xiamen made great progress, mastering 3 distinct styles of the Monkey King, raising her level. Meanwhile, thoughts of Su Jingyao and her mysterious voice lingered in his mind. Her ghostly face haunted him. Day and night, now watch, even during his daytime thoughts, a strange sense of deja vu urged the hero to ask the special sweep team for answers. He had a crazy hunch. Right then, Jungping's excited voice boomed over the magic radio, warning him that a heavenly fox had apparently appeared near the forge, but an annoyed Satu instantly rejected the very idea of foxes appearing in the cleared zone, confidently declaring that the extermination of all otherworldly creatures was complete, yet troubling. Questions about this mysterious phenomenon and the state of Su Jingyao status only strengthened the hero's resolve to personally unmask this mysterious creature. 3 days later, an ominous silence blanketed the building as a dark figure froze at the front door, waiting for the perfect moment. The cracked door let the intruder slip silently into the inner sanctuary, the bedroom of an unsuspecting girl sleeping peacefully in her bed, a satisfied grin contorted The villain's face confident in the powerful drug that had put his victim into a deep sleep. A greedy gaze slid over Miss Sue's figure as the blanket was suddenly ripped away, leaving her in just a thin nightgown. Before his perverted gaze, pure anticipation of pleasure oozed from every breath he took as he slowly reached out a trembling hand toward the sleeping girl's bare shoulder. But then, a bone-chilling voice whispered the name Zhang Xiaopin directly behind the criminal's back at that exact moment. Just as a dark, oppressive silhouette materialized, a terrified gasp burst from the cornered rat as he spun around, facing the terrifying source of that chilling voice and demonic energy. The ghostly silhouette coldly listed every single shameful detail about Shorty Teddy's miserable life, whose eyes darted around in pure horror, hunting for his invisible accuser. The phantom voice kept exposing the darkest corners of his twisted soul, detailing years of his crimes against women. As the villain's dread grew, then came the promise of death, completely paralyzing Zhang Xiaopin. His wide, frantic eyes filled with absolute, raw terror before his punishment. Total panic took over, and Shorty Teddy bolted from the ghostly assassin, completely baffled why his knockout drug failed on the Su family. As he fled, his mind raced wildly about his pursuer, unable to tell if this was a man or some vengeful ghost. Suddenly, a swift arrow pierced his leg just below the knee, instantly halting his pathetic attempt to escape and forcing him to faceplant hard into the dirt. Cold terror had his heart hammering at a crazy speed as the dark silhouette drew closer, mockingly laughing at his pathetic struggle. His desperate cries for mercy were completely ignored by the relentless stalker, who kept closing the gap on the trembling pervert. The once cocky criminal was now a pathetic, sniveling mess, crying and begging for his life in the face of certain doom. A mocking laugh echoed as the terrified scoundrel fainted, staring in absolute horror at the dark, menacing figure, who was honestly disappointed by how easy this was. With his first mission cleared, the thick, dark fog began to fade around our hero, who was still hidden behind his shadowy mask. He stared down at the unconscious predator, ready to activate the next phase. With his appraisal skill active, the creep's true nature is laid bare. This unique playback ability reconstructs a horrifying scene from the past. A weeping mother begging desperately for her daughter's life. The memories mock the useless, failed patrols. Pearl City is completely unprotected, making him sick to his stomach. He watches the bastard target the helpless girl. She reaches out for her broken mother, absolutely sickening. He grabs her by the hair and licks her face, pure disgust. Right there he vows to make him pay in blood, Kayapan. He laughs maniacally, treating these innocent victims like mere toys. Pure, silent rage boils inside him from watching this horror. This magic mask reveals everything. Time for payback. The waking scumbag glares at the unmasked hero holding his mask. His fear completely vanishes. He thinks he can still fight. A sudden, violent wind erupts from the rebounding villain's palm. He laughs cockily, blasting it straight at his face. Rain pours down. A massive dust cloud envelopes the clash. This sleep attack is powerful enough to knock out a giant beast. But a brilliant violet glow completely wraps around our standing hero. A well-deserved death sentence is about to land. Terror distorts Zunga's face. He is utterly lost. How did his ultimate sleeping spell fail? He has no clue. An invisible magical palm strikes him with a heavy, crushing blow. He screams in absolute agony, no time to think. Tears mix with the pouring rain on his broken, agony-filled face. Our hero is far from done. A glowing energy sphere forms in his hand, condensing his absolute rage. This is ultimate retribution for that poor mother. The magic explodes. A brutal storm of strikes rains down on the squirming trash. This is for the girl who chose death over dishonor. He screams, terrified of the next wave of agony. This strike is for the brave patrolman he mocked so cynically. Merciless strikes crash down in the name of the detective. Blood and energy splatter everywhere in this endless beating. Reduced to a bloody mess, the broken trash barely gasps. He mumbles, accusing our hero of being completely insane. A menacing silhouette stands against the swirling purple aura. Without immediate medical help, this trash will die right here. Pointing to the exit, our vigilante makes a quiet vow. He will make this absolute monster suffer tenfold for his crimes. This tiny sliver of hope instantly revives the fallen creep. A sinister grin spreads across his face. Escape is possible. He will skin him alive, just wait until he recovers. Thoughts of his victims give him a twisted sense of purpose. The disgusting creature believes he can still win. Death surrounded by nameless female victims as a sudden surge of excitement. Washed over Zhongxin with the escape gate just a few steps away. From his shaking fingers, his bloody hand clawed forward with desperate strength. That open door was the only thing standing between life and justice. A thick crimson trail marked the monster's path as his hand strained hard for the lock with desperate grit, pushing for one final push. Pure, helpless fury consumed the pathetic creature, unable to cross the last inch to safety, leaving him to uselessly smash his blood-soaked fist against the cold floor. The young hero's patience was already running entirely thin. Watching this pathetic struggle, he walked over, mockingly commenting on the villain's failure to unlock a simple door. Purple energy suddenly flared around his outstretched arm, as he prepared to crush any lingering hope of escape, ignoring the pathetic begging of the doomed trash. A cold, brief farewell was the last thing Zhongxin ever heard before a massive wave of energy slammed down, painting the ground red. Instantly, his system stats bumped up by 1 point. As a reward for executing this absolute creep, fully restoring the tired hunter's stamina. Still, he felt no joy, only dark thoughts about saving a world that seemed so deeply broken. Watching the aftermath of his grim work as he quietly stared up at the rainy sky. Suddenly, a strange voice inside his head cut through his thoughts, announcing a major event at Manhwa Academy that needed his urgent attention. Catching a strange rumor about an abduction made Jungping highly suspicious of another looming threat. He quickly radioed his captain to report the sketchy activity he had picked up near the neighboring school grounds. Back at HQ, a worried Satu turned away from his teammate, muttering quiet warnings about Manhwa Academy so he wouldn't disturb the busy captain. Magical mana scans confirmed a massive barrier blocking all supernatural senses. Proving things were critical, the captain immediately ordered Jungping to head out and scout the area while she contacted the incredibly strong Lu Shishin for backup. She strictly ordered him not to engage until help arrived, which our eager hero quickly agreed to before sprinting off. In just a few moments, he covered the distance to the giant academy. Even the heavy, pouring rain couldn't slow him down. Inside, mysterious robed figures paced hallways with glowing lamps, systematically searching every single room of the massive academy. Their annoyed leader cursed their 15-minute wasted search for Chen Jing's hiding spot, completely oblivious to the danger. The sudden alarm from their lookout about a perimeter breach cut him off. The arrogant leader just laughed it off, completely confident in their solid defenses powered by their dragon stone, leaving the third accomplice to sweat. They had to move fast because kidnapping the girl under the watchful eyes of any potential witness would be a disaster. He barked a harsh order to rush the search, no matter what happened, and his anxious goons quickly nodded in agreement. But wait outside, the disciplined Jungping waited patiently, strictly obeying his captain's orders to avoid making any reckless moves just yet. All eyes turned to a mysterious pillar topped with a dragon statue, its ruby eyes glowing with an eerie light through the pouring rain. Multiple scans identify the artifact. It is a legendary dragon stone that can create an absolute barrier. Activated playback reveals a horrific ritual using a vessel overflowing with the blood of innocent victims to power the next steps. The final stage transforms human blood into a living dragon sculpture, pulsing with terrifying power and blazing ruby eyes, making an artifact from human sacrifice. Completely shocks the young man, knowing how strictly forbidden this is. Even worse, signs point directly to the infamous Zhu family. Honestly, what kind of sick minds are we dealing with here? The 200-year history of this bloody clan is now tied to modern schemes involving celestial foxes and mutated beasts, but his stealthy entry into the academy is cut short by footsteps coming from a window, forcing him to quickly find cover. He instantly activates his nightwalking skill and melts into the shadows right before strangers climb through the opening. The suspicious gang leader scans the area, fully on guard, but finds no trace of any intruder. He coldly orders his crew to douse the lantern to save energy, glancing at the goon holding their unconscious victim. They grab the dragon stone and head toward the planned exit, carrying the helpless girl. A quick scan reveals the boss has a level 20 scorpion technique, along with the specialized skills of his crew. Their sneaky movement was easily masked by the dimmed lamps, hiding their scent since the energy is almost gone, but the scan of the kidnapped girl reveals a massive surge of spiritual energy from her contract seal, a terrible hunch about the Zhu family's plan to sacrifice her to control the beast cements his resolve. To stop them, he rushes outside, but wait, they are already gone. They vanished right before Jungping's eyes, leaving him empty-handed. He desperately asks Manny to locate them. Meanwhile, a bright light surrounds their base as a girl focuses her magic to track the fugitives heading out of town. Jungping's instant urge to chase them is shut down by Seiyu's strict radio warning to stay safe. Still, his ultimate goal, to take down the Zhu family, is only stronger now. He summons Stygian fog to buy time. Dark silhouettes of the enemy clan members rush through the trees, heading deep into the woods with every quick step, but their leader suddenly freezes in front of some thick bushes, sensing danger close by. Right on cue, a massive beast covered in dark aura leaps out with a deafening roar, forcing them back. Utter shock hits the gang boss, completely baffled by the thick fog. A mutated beast, wandering so far from its usual hunting grounds. This brought absolute satisfaction to Jungping. His perfect disguise kept him hidden. Even an experienced level 20 appraiser could not see through him. Meanwhile, the kidnappers cast an appraisal spell to check the monster. But the sudden wolf attack completely interrupted the mage's ritual. He barely dodges the beast's furious lunge. Angry curses start flying. Terror grips the ringleader as he feels hot breath right behind him. The giant predator stands there, its jaws wide open to tear flesh. The boss leaps away. He desperately yells for Hangen to hypnotize the beast. He barely avoids the deadly fangs, while purple magic flows from Hangen. The hypnotist channels his power, trying to bend the monster to his will. His mental influence grows stronger. Soon, Hangen's confidence rises. He focuses his magic. The wolf's gaze begins to blur. The wolf fakes submission, completely fooling the members of the Zhu dynasty. They lower their guard, believing they have successfully subdued the creature. But Jungping's immense mental strength protects his beast from the mind control. This gives Jungping a massive tactical advantage over his unsuspecting enemies. Hangen continues his quiet spell. The wolf creeps closer. Faking submission, the wolf closes the distance, making Hangen even more confident. Every whisper brings the giant snout closer to his outstretched fingers. Suddenly, the trap is sprung. Jungping sends a mental command. The beast lunges forward, catching the stunned hypnotist completely off guard. Its razor-sharp fangs sink deep into the man's unprotected neck. Blood sprays everywhere. A horrific scream echoes through the forest. The dying hypnotist, writhing in agony, screams desperately for help. The merciless beast keeps tearing his body apart without hesitation. Seeing the leader frozen, another member of the team takes action. Carrying the unconscious hostage on her shoulder, she raises her free hand. She begins gathering raw magical energy to cast a protective spell. A powerful magical blast explodes, throwing the wolf off her bleeding ally. The predator lands smoothly on all fours, ready for more. This fits perfectly into Jungping's secret plan to capture the kidnappers. But wait, sudden worry hits Jungping as he watches the woman. She is already channeling a massive hypergravity spell in her hands. Heavy, ominous energy wraps around the wolf like an invisible cocoon. Under the crushing force, the wolf's mighty body collapses helplessly. This paralyzing weight pins Jungping's beast firmly to the dirt. The sheer pressure leaves him completely unable to move a single muscle. Total helplessness, he cannot move a single inch on the ground. The boss suddenly recognizes Jungping, identifying him as a rank 9 junior. He was just a cheap rookie who recently joined the cleanup squad. The ringleader sneers, mocking this newcomer for playing the hero. He coldly declares a death sentence for the trapped young man. Pinioned to the ground, Jungping forces himself to stay completely calm. He desperately searches for any possible way out of this lethal trap. These epic weapons belong to an enemy far beyond conventional limits. Clearly, the Zhu clan depended entirely on magical gear. Heavy pressure, the young man buckled under their strange, foreign power. Even a heavy gravity spell couldn't stop this dark, Stygian mist. Seizing the opening, Jungping launched multiple deadly energy streaks. Pure shock, the young hero watched them easily dodge. They didn't even use mental magic to deflect his attack. Suddenly, a highly destructive stream of yellow magic surged straight toward him. Blasted back, a painful groan tore from his chest. That brutal force completely disintegrated whatever remained of his protective fog. A fully drawn bow and loaded arrow backed up their cruel mockery. They mocked him, boasting about draining the energy of a barely conscious kid. Suddenly, a spark of insight hit Jungping's clouded mind. These guys couldn't block anything, they only knew how to dodge. The archer stared in utter disbelief as the boy stopped fighting entirely. Seriously, what is he planning? He just stood there waiting. But it was a trap. 15 layers of fog formed a shield. Meanwhile, 5 more fog streams dragged the enemy's attack underground. A storm of misty blades then flew toward the kidnappers. This massive counterattack drained his Stygian energy to just 25 units. His partner used telekinesis, letting the boss kick back the dark mist. Jungping watched closely, instantly spotting a massive flaw in their stance. They needed both arms pointed at him to maintain control spells. The boss let out a panicked shout that echoed through the trees. Bow grabbed, misty tentacles whipped out as Jungping lunged. He closed the distance instantly, pinning down the defenseless mage. Feathery mist bound the man's arms before a dagger plunged toward his chest. Absolute shock, Jungping watched as the enemy caught his blade. A suddenly freed hand caught his wrist, halting the blade cold. The captor smiled, mocking him about Huang's already dislocated arm. His vice-like grip tightened, crushing any hope of the hero escaping. An evil cheer went up, his magic was depleted. They got ready to pay him back tenfold for the trouble. Desolation, a desperate, consuming flame vortex exploded everywhere. The wild blaze engulfed everything and everyone in its path. To save himself, the burning captor violently threw the boy away. The panicked villain desperately tried to extinguish his own burning arm. Pure panic, a magical arrow locked onto his bare chest. A glowing magic arrow was flying straight toward his chest. The brutal impact sent him to his knees, gasping in agony. His smug enemies stood over him, amused by his tricks. They raised their weapons together, gathering power for the end. A massive ball of deadly magic hovered over the exhausted teenager. No fear, instead a cold smile crossed his face. The villains just laughed, ready to deliver his inevitable demise. In a sudden twist, 2 glowing streams of water burst around. The resting hero signaling their final battle, sharp water blades surged. Straight toward their enemies, one sliced through Hangare as the ringleader. Evaded with a sneer, suddenly a dark energy arrow pierced the shoulder of our hero, who sprang back with unnatural speed like a puppet. Controlled by some unseen force, then Sisa suddenly appeared, drawing his sword. Right behind the ringleader, to instantly shift the balance of this battle. On the field, the boss stared in absolute horror at her fallen comrade, suddenly realizing the lethal power of this mysterious female warrior. The savior's devastating kick sends the boss flying backward, while her mind desperately tries to identify this sudden, deadly threat. She dodges, a clever maneuver keeps her safe for now, as she slowly backs away from her fierce pursuer. Realizing she is just wasting precious time, twists her face in pure rage. She is desperate to turn things around. Wait, is she actually about to activate a forbidden artifact? Mysterious glowing ring suddenly starts floating right before the retreating mage. As she quickly slides the ring onto her finger, it draws a puzzled look from the approaching Sisa, who tries to assess this strange object. The ring glows. Suddenly, blinding yellow lightning erupts between the 2 rivals, sending lethal sparks in every direction. A massive blast of energy strikes the ground, shattering the earth into huge stone blocks that soar skyward with unbelievable force. The seasoned cleanup squad member quickly leaps back, pulling the wounded Jungping safely away from the epicenter of the blast. A massive gaping crater is left behind as the silhouette of their enemy disappears into the distance, leaving them with only the regret of a missed capture. Lucis stares after the fleeing figure, then glances down at the exhausted hero lying beside her, who has completely drained his magical energy. Suddenly, a frantic voice over their comms cuts through the silence, ordering them to wake the unconscious young man up. Right away. Wait, did they just say the entire protective canopy was destroyed? This catches Lucis completely off guard, instantly forcing her to shift focus. Lushu stands tall on a rooftop, quietly watching the rainy city. Beneath the shelter of an elegant umbrella, while a heavy shroud of rain falls. Hangir materializes right behind the dignitary's back, bowing his head as he waits for an explanation of this sudden summons. The princess's demanding curiosity about the capture of wild beasts outside the city is quickly satisfied by the counselor's report that all necessary preparations have been completed. Suddenly, a blinding flash of yellow lightning strikes far away, cutting the counselor off and drawing their sharp attention. Tension instantly tightens the princess's face, making her look around in alarm to locate the source of that blast. The counselor silently curses the careless Zhu Zedin for using the forbidden 10,000 thunders, quickly making up a lie about a natural phenomenon. Lordy's glares with burning suspicion at her nervous counselor, while a ghostly celestial creature materializes behind her. The woman recoils, trembling. Eyes glued to the floor, she desperately tries to deny the madness. She notices jittery tells do not escape the sharp princess. She pushes her subordinate straight into a state of sheer panic. The woman stammers out a weak excuse about being afraid of thunder. Then she collapses, right at a disgusted Lordy's feet. Suddenly, Liu's sharp gaze darts toward a bizarre noise echoing inside the city. No use, she tries to peer through the invisible barrier. Memories flash back of a badly wounded man who escaped her deadly strike. Gone, the way he vanished around that corner still rankles. It leaves a bitter taste for a princess used to total dominance. Realizing this is likely some advanced illusion magic, she acts immediately, leaping straight up into the night sky to get a better look. Up there, she analyzes these illusions. What if it's fake? She suspects the entire Pearl City is one massive, elaborate cover-up. With a graceful hand wave, she unleashes surging red energy streams to hunt through every corner of the city. Suddenly, Sai notices the surrounding space starting to warp and vanish. She is totally baffled. At the same time, she worries deeply about the missing student from Hayes Academy as a dark threat grows directly over the city. Meanwhile, an exhausted Jungping makes a desperate struggle with his failing body ends as he gasps out a plea. He points a trembling hand toward the nightingale lamp beside the dead hypnotist, silently begging to activate that mysterious artifact. Hurry, he begs. Urgency drives those red energy streams as they scan the streets. They move like all-seeing eyes. Now, the returning scout streams rush back to the princess, carrying a shocking report of a spy sneaking through the streets. A vivid spiritual vision plays out right before her eyes, revealing a hooded figure carrying an unconscious girl to safety. The princess dryly mocks their terrible timing, and you know she's bringing trouble. Her terrified counselor breaks out in a cold sweat. Their secret is out. Desperate cries to wait echo through the void, completely ignored. The princess is already giving chase, cutting through the night air. Hangen blames himself completely for failing to hold back their terrifying leader. Watching helplessly as she flies away, suddenly a shocking message about the spy Jungping crackles over a radio, drawing the immediate attention of several cloaked figures hiding in the darkness. The grim news of Hangen and Huang being killed makes the entire group focus intensely on their leader. Hearing that the forbidden thunderbolt was unleashed due to incoming reinforcements completely stuns his partner, who never believed Jungping could survive. When the leader reveals the spy belongs to the Iron Forge faction, he barks a decisive order to immediately move their valuable captive outside the city walls, but a sudden, chilling question about Lu Chu's whereabouts instantly silences the entire group of conspirators. The radio lines go wild with desperate demands.